wonder, do you like them better than these guys or worse? What do you think?
Thomas Frank is wearing his old glasses. I love having Thomas Frank on for many reasons, including because I can just get into it with him. Just like, glasses, whatever.
In media res, as they say.
In media res, as they say, exactly. Yeah. So everyone, welcome to the Katie Halper Show.
They don't say that.
They don't say that?
Right. Welcome everyone to the Katie Halper Show. I'm Katie Halper. And of course, I'm joined, if it's a Wednesday night and you're watching the Katie Halper Show, Nando Villa is here. Hi, Nando.
How's it going?
Good, you?
Good.
And our guest.
I'm not wearing any pants because it's very hot.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to prove that at some point. And I have with me here in person, well, as much as in person can be these days, joining us on this chat is Tom Frank. I call him Tom Frank.
The legend.
The legend, indeed.
What's the matter with Kansas, or the Kansas book?
Yeah, that's
liberal.
That's the guy. Yeah,
yeah,
the one. Yeah,
just the legend.
Listen liberal legend. Yeah, he is legend. So, I think this is better, right? The three things farther away as opposed to up close. Okay. So Thomas Frank's latest book, by the way, is The People Know. And how's my sound, by the way? Because
you're fine. You're
okay,
good.
I'm moved, by the way, so that people can watch the debate with me, and I can watch it with my parents and family friends.
What debate are you referring to?
The DNC. Sorry.
No debate. There's no debate there. They all hate Trump.
There's no DNC.
That's all over. It's all. They're all holding hands and they're all friends now.
So ridiculous. So make sure you stay with us because you can watch the DNC from here. We'll be playing it in a stream. But here's what you're really here for. Okay, you're here for this book, The People.
Brand new.
No, brand new. It's very good, and it has very good illustrations. And people who watch Useful Idiots know we already spoke to Tom about this. And maybe we'll go through some of these illustrations because we can actually see them online. That's actually a fun thing to do. But Tom, thank you for coming. What made you write this very good book, The People Know?
Oh,
and
come
look how
on.
annotated it is.
Yeah.
Well,
How what? Oh, you did that. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually.
I have an asterisk there, right? I have an asterisk. I have an asterisk and an exclamation point. I got a little, what's this called? Like the bracket smiley face.
Yeah. You should see my copy of it.
What does it say?
I wrote it by hand. So no. I wrote it by hand. So it's like marked.
Really? You write longhand?
Well, I do in the later drafts. Yeah, it's all. Well, it doesn't really matter now. Okay, that doesn't matter anymore.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I write it the first draft on the computer. It used to be the other way around. I would write everything longhand. I still have a collection of fountain pens. You see them up there? And I would write everything longhand, and then I would sit down and type it into the computer. I couldn't do it any other way, but now I've learned how to. I couldn't write books back then. It took a very long time to write an essay, longhand. But
you didn't use a typewriter, right? Because I mean,
no. This is Katie. This is in like the 80s and the 90s. This is so
it was computer time.
There were computers, but I didn't personally own one. So,
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
hey, Nando, what town are you in Colorado?
I'm in Snowmass Village.
Oh, well, you don't need air conditioning in a place named Snowmass.
You would think, but global warming, she's a real bitch. Yeah.
Mother Nature, yeah. So what is this called? Someone already got upset because I said a bracket. It's not a bracket. It's a smiley face type of thing. It's an
emoji?
No,
that's a bracket. Come on, it's a bracket. So you just drew a line next to a paragraph. That's the first paragraph in the book.
Yeah, but I did a little with the little nose thing. And then
Katie, it's okay. Why don't we tell them what the book's about?
All right, tell them what the book's about. All right. So the book is about, and then I'm gonna read because what I like to do is I have on guests and I go over with them my notes on their book. Yeah. And I read them and we talk about them and what makes me tick. Just kidding. Okay. So this book is it's about anti-populism and
populism and the people who hate it.
Right.
From the 1890s to the present. Yes.
And
so it's about Yasha Monk.
He does come up, but the thing is that he's just one in a very large shooting gallery of pundits and academics who are bad mouthing populism these days and who frankly don't know what they're talking about. Now that said, I wish him luck in his project of undoing the European right. I mean I'm totally supportive of that. Just don't take the name of my people in vain.
Well, yeah.
or if you do, at least be honest that you're completely inverting the meaning of the word. Then I'll let you do whatever the hell you want. But none of them will do that. They won't do that.
No.
But I actually want to ask you how you decided to write this book, and here's why. Because I don't know if you saw this, but on the last the Useful Idiots episode, which is the show Matt Taibbi and I do, and we had Thomas Frank on. It was a great interview. People loved it, and we were filming the outro, and Matt Taibbi goes something like, "Well, I think what happened is, Tom was writing a book about," and I was like, "You think what happened? What do you mean?"
He's right here. Ask him.
No, you were gone. You were gone. We were taping a week later, but it was really, it cracked me up. And he thought you started writing it because you were writing about populism. And then while you were working on it, you realized you had to write about anti-populism.
Yeah, that actually is what happened.
So he probably, you must have told him that. Okay. Because that's why.
So I started out writing a book about populism because it's this really maligned, word, right? Everybody's using it, and they're using it. It was fascinating to me because, the first time I saw it, it was like a slap in the face. It was like the New York Times or something. They had a big front page story about populists doing this, and they were using the word as a synonym for racist demagogue and or racist authoritarian. And I was like, what? I know that you play fast and loose with this word, and Jimmy Carter said he was a populist, and people said Reagan was a populist, and etc. But just flat out using it as a synonym for a racist demagogue, that was just a bridge too far. And this was a subject that is near and dear to my heart. I'm from Kansas, home country of the populists. I had once studied it when I was in graduate school. Studied it in a lot. And this was just too much. And so that's when I resolved to write about that. But along the way, I became, it became a kind of a standard story about American, working class movements on the left, which was once a story that they would have taught you in history, and say if you went to college in the 1940s or something like that, you would know that story really well. But it's today I've discovered that nobody knows that story, about the populists and about the labor movement in the 30s and all that sort of thing. They generally know about the civil rights movement in the 60s, but they don't know about the links between it and organized labor and that sort of thing, which I focus on. But the other part of it, so as I'm doing this research, the backlash against populism begins to really interest me, because I start noticing as I'm digging in the history of populism, and you come up against the people denouncing it all the time, the sort of Eastern elite of this country denouncing it, and you start noticing these really weird similarities between what they were saying then and what people are saying now. That it's the same crap, and it's like, how did that happen? And fortunately, you've asked too much. I also knew about the weird missing link in the story that nobody writes about, which is the consensus intellectuals in the 1950s who deliberately set out to flip the word populism and redefine it as something completely different than what it actually was. So that's the story of the book. And so it's like Hofstadter is the main one. Yeah. But there was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But here's the thing is that I think this is kind of I got really excited about this, and I still think it's an exciting book, and I really like the idea of anti-populism, but I just happened on it by accident. Seriously, I was just wandering around reading these old newspapers and magazines, and there it was. Strange.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What? Sorry.
The continuity from these people who hated the real populist movement in the 1890s to these people who hate it today.
Right.
Weird similarities in the way they talk.
So to the extent that the populists get taught these days in sort of mainstream history classes, it's like William Jennings Bryan and he's kind of a crank and something about the silver gold standard and a speech about a cross.
Right.
A speech about a cross, and that's like all that they teach. But maybe it's worth saying who are these populists?
All right, here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, look at that! Now I've got on the populist glasses.
Oh, I like it. And if there's only a way we could track the birth of the word, Dun, dun, dun.
I did that though. I found that. That was one.
I
of
know that. I know.
Bring to the table.
I know.
So if you ever read the Wizard of Oz, not watch the movie, but read the book, when she goes to the Emerald City, it really isn't all green. It's silver, but they wear green colored glasses. They wear green sunglasses. Okay, so that's part of the silverite analogy. So the idea is that it's the Silver City, but green is, of course, the color of money. So they have monetized silver, which is what the populists wanted to do. Get it?
Yeah.
Okay, no, who cares? So the word was it.
I love it.
The word. So part of the.
I was obsessed with that movie. Anyway.
Well, I'm talking about the book here.
I know.
Yeah.
But and I read the book too.
Yeah.
But
the people who were the scholars who write about populism today, and I think I told you this, Katie, that there's a whole pedagogy associated with this now. It's called Global Populism Studies. They have conferences, they have superstars, they have up and coming graduate students, and they have like the big name, professors with tenure and all this crap. And they never talk about the origin of the word, or they talk about like early populist movements, but they never say, oh yeah, these guys in America were first, and they actually sat down one day and made up this word that undergirds our entire field of study. They never do that, and that's surprising to me. But so I was doing my research, and I came across someone who just referenced this, said, this word was made up one day on a train between Kansas City and Topeka, and I was like, that's interesting. Let's find out more about that. And I started digging, and his footnotes referred to a scholarly article from the 1920s. I found that he, in that scholarly article, referred to a newspaper article in a long defunct Kansas City paper from like 1910 or something. I wasn't able to find that, but he said it's in the files of the Kansas State Historical Society. So I called them up. They're wonderful people. And they're like, well, no, we don't have that, but we have this whole folder of other articles on the subject. And they sent them to me. And there's some guy, he worked for, I assume it's the same guy that wrote that early story, wrote for the Kansas City Star until the day he died, and told and retold and retold and retold this story of being on the train and being in this conversation and how this word got coined. And apparently he dined out on it until the end of his days, because when they would have a slow news day at the Kansas City Star, they would just run this story again with slight variations. How the Populist Party was born, where they got their name. It happened in a conversation on a train, and our reporter was there.
It sounds so much like Waiting for Guffman.
I don't know
you haven't
that
seen
one.
It? Oh, okay. We'll have to.
From
we'll
Kansas.
Have to
Come on now.
It's
Sophisticated.
Katie's a coastal elite.
No, yeah, but Tom is very coastal elite. He lives in DC, and he has that.
I know.
That affect. Yeah. And anyway, it's a Christopher Guest movie from of Spinal Tap fame.
Okay. I actually probably have seen it, but
yeah, it's about a small town in Missouri called Blaine, Missouri, and they put on a centennial to celebrate the life of Blaine Fabin is his name, and they put on a musical, and it's the stool capital of the world. And anyway, they go through the history, and yeah, you'll really like it. Anyway, and
I thought you were going to talk about Blaine, the Republican candidate for president in like 1888.
I can't believe you didn't know what year, obviously.
Yeah, and he was, they called him, the only reson I remember him is because he was called the Plumed Knight. That was his nickname. The Plumed Knight. I love that silly 19th century politics. I mean, and the stuff that was when they were being nice to him. And then when they were being mean to him, the stuff these people would throw at each other was just, insane.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so that's where the word comes from, and it was spelled with an uppercase P, and it referred to a very particular political party, and did not become a general term until the 1950s, until these consensus scholars I was talking about redefined it as a kind of sensibility. And what they meant is like a proto-fascist sensibility,
right?
Which was particularly unfair of them, because the populist movement, which they were purporting to write about, actually had nothing to do with that. And as their critics pointed out almost immediately, but their reworking of the word stuck. and it became a kind of generic signifier, and all of these scholars all over the world started picking it up and using it for proto-fascist.
Yeah.
And that's where we are today. They never looked back. Now, there was a lot of tangling over it in America. A lot of scholars rejected this redefinition of it, but ultimately the redefinition won out. So
yeah, it strikes me as like the Yasha monks of the world, to cite an example, they use it as a cudgel to flatten and sort of put in the same category people like Bernie Sanders or Andrés Manuel López Obrador in Mexico, or Evo Morales in Bolivia. With Trump.
It's the center against the periphery, they being the center.
The same people.
Yeah. Right, exactly, yeah.
Well, which is exactly the definition in the 1890s. So that's the punchline of all this, is that, and the historian who did this, who flipped the definition, as you mentioned, was Richard Hofstadter in the 50s, wrote a book called The Age of Reform. And what he never acknowledges in that book is that he is taking his new vision, his revisionist understanding of populism. He is taking it from the newspapers and magazines and cartoonists who despised the left in the 1890s. Right. All these people who are denouncing farmers and workers as being anarchists, as being mob rule, as being subhuman. The lower orders, there's something wrong with their brains. Their brains don't function correctly. And Hofstadter basically, the New York Times called William Jennings Bryan paranoid in 1896. They got a psychologist to speculate about this. They were shameless back then. They found some psychologist and got him to go on the record basically saying this.
They pulled a Joy-Ann Reid.
Actually, he didn't go on the record. He remained anonymous, and he said, "No, I have not examined William Jennings Bryan, but I've seen him speak, and he's clearly mentally ill." And by the way, they tried this on Franklin Roosevelt too, and it wasn't just any old psychologist. It was Carl Jung. Did you know
what? I know you told me that. Yeah, I saw that in the book. Yes. I remember that. Yeah.
There's a long footnote in the book where Jung came to America and saw Roosevelt give a speech and then was like, this guy's Mussolini, this guy's a dictator, this guy's out of control.
Have you seen FDR? He couldn't be a popular.
It's funny, he's like the most uppity, he's like the most uppity upper class, fancy lad who's ever existed. Bless his heart for being a class traitor, but still.
But the Republicans got hold of this on the night before the night before Election Day in 1936 and did a national radio broadcast where they read from this article. And it didn't make any difference. Everybody could see that it wasn't true. But Jung was, he goes on in this article, and he's very conservative. He's not just conservative, he's reactionary, believes in aristocracy, thinks that's the way of nature. And there was a lot of Europeans that were saying stuff like that in the 1930s. For our country, this was the great decade of the common man, But for Europeans, oh no.
No. They had some trouble in the 1930s in Europe.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's interesting because you talk about they're on the train, and you talk about, I guess, the first time. So they name it on the train.
Yes, then the word appears in print. So this is where my like stupid graduate student knowledge of populism came in handy, because I found out the names of the guys on the train. So then the question is, where does it first appear in print? Because that's always important. Where does it first appear in print? And I figured out that, the names of the guys in the conversation on the train, and I knew which populism had different factions, like any political party. And I knew which faction was identified with the guy on the train. I went and started digging in their newspaper, and I found it, the first appearance of the word. You can also text search now. And that was very handy. So I'm quite certain that there was nothing. I'm almost certain that there was nothing before this one. And the newspaper it appeared in is one of these classic populist names. It's called The American Nonconformist and Kansas Industrial Liberator.
Yeah, it's great. Where is that? I'm trying to find the page.
It's this newspaper with a really grandiose name, and it's
amazing.
In this tiny little town down in a town called Winfield, Kansas.
Yeah, the American Nonconformist and Kansas Industrial Liberator, right? A radical newspaper. Yeah. And the date was March 28th, 1891.
May 1891. And the people who ran that paper, interesting little story there. The people who ran that paper, it was two brothers, and they wanted to be the big sort of populist newspaper guys, and it never really worked out for them. but they were descended from a family of abolitionists. And Kansas was, was a big abolitionist state. It was settled by abolitionists, John Brown, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there were, as I did my research, I kept coming across abolitionists from the Civil War era who are still around in the 1890s and who signed up for populism because they figured this is the next step. Right. This is the next step in human freedom is, going to war against capitalism. Or not war. Okay, that's too strong. But reforming capitalism. Yeah, right. And including, and this one's interesting, the man who wrote the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery. He had been a senator from Illinois. I'm blanking on his name. Lyman Trumbull was his name. Great name. He was still alive in 1894, and he converted to populism. And they featured him at some big rally in Chicago. They tried to run a slate in Chicago, and in 1894 didn't work out for them. But they made all these efforts to reach out to big cities and industrial workers. Anyhow, it didn't work out, and populism died.
Yeah, and the way I just want to read what the newspaper said. There must be some short and easy way of designating a member of the third party. To say he is a member of the People's Party would take too much time. Henceforth, a follower and affiliator of the People's Party is a populist, for a new party needs and deserves a new term.
Isn't that funny? And they knew they had a good word on their hand. There's another newspaper that I didn't include in the book, and I could show it to you. I should probably put it up on my website. They made a headline out of it, just the word. Populist! ! In gigantic print, and under it, like, "Are you a populist? ? Hooray for the populists!" And this was like the next day in another tiny little town somewhere in Kansas. So they knew they had their hands on something, on a hunk of dynamite. This word. What's funny is it's a great word. And here's my theory about all of this sort of global populism studies, and the reason these people flipped the word is that there's been a fear of mass democracy since the beginning of this country. You look at the founding fathers, they did not like democracy, and they tried to build in all of these safeguards against democracy into the Constitution. And by 1955, you can't say, "I don't like democracy." That's not that's not going to fly. Right. So you need a different word to imply the bad things about democracy. These are the good things, the stuff that are aligned with us. But we need to talk about the bad things. We need a word for the bad things of democracy. And so they just were like, populism. Let's use that word. Nobody else is using it. Why the hell not? Let's just take it from them. And
it seems like today, like the examples of like the one when you talk to like elites who are kind of hate populism and all that stuff, like they mention like how can you believe in this kind of thing when look at Brexit. When we gave them the vote and they chose Brexit, like
that argument makes me so angry. As though so I don't live in Britain and I wasn't exposed to the entire debate, but it's not like the European Union is this unquestionable force for good
thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, did you see what happened with the euro?
And it's also one
really
of the most
bad.
Yeah, it's one of the most anti-democratic.
It most definitely is, and there's a lot of corruption in Brussels. People have written about this. So I probably would not have. I mean, look, I don't know. I probably would have not voted for Brexit, but I'm not going to sneer at the people who did. It's not.
It's like it's interesting because
and you think of, by the way, so you put your finger on a really interesting thing, which is in all of this sort of this back and forth that we're having now, or maybe we've stopped having it now, but up until very recently, all this back and forth about you must listen to experts. What the hell has gone wrong? The people won't listen to the elites anymore. And by the way, when they use that word elites, they mean themselves. They mean scholars.
They use that, but they usually don't use. To be fair, they usually won't say that because it's too much of a tell. They'll say the experts or something.
Yeah, exactly. But they mean the class that I belong to. They don't mean like the Koch brothers, who are an elite. They don't mean Donald Trump, who is a billionaire. They mean people like they themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing in this debate that they have, and I quote many editorials of people saying, "Oh my God, the people have lost trust in elites. What the hell? What's wrong with them?" And there's been so much commentary on this. What always gets left out is this underlying problem of elite failure. I mean, there's really good reasons to not trust elites anymore. Really good reasons.
9/11, Iraq
War.
War.
Oh my God.
The financial
Vietnam.
Crisis, the Catholic Church. Sex abuse scandal.
Well, the Catholic Church. Oh my God, opioid epidemic.
Both
that wasn't you and me that did that. That was somebody was writing prescriptions for that crap, and some big pharmaceutical company was turning that stuff out. Or my favorite, the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016. The geniuses, the smartest guys in the room, and can I curse on this?
Yeah,
you absolutely can.
Oh my God, did they fuck it up? Yeah. They lost to the
dumbest person on the planet. The dumbest person on the planet.
Whose campaign was, it gets worse. Whose campaign was being managed by a guy, Steve Bannon, who had never managed a political campaign before in his life. And he's running a guy's campaign for president.
He's pretty smart though, right? Isn't Bannon pretty smart?
Yeah, but wait, of course he is. But Hillary Clinton had the greatest experts in the entire system. And this guy's never done. He's never done this. He's never played this game before. It's like a baby going up against a grandmaster in chess.
Right. See, what's so interesting is that, what do you call? Okay, so there is something, and immediately you, by the way, you also provide a counter take from an anti-populist newspaper, which
the Topeka Daily Capital. They're still in business, by the way.
And it says third party, Cincinnati rapidly filling up, because this is where the People's Party.
They were meeting in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati rapidly filling up with the disgruntled ravelings of the old parties. Kansans to the fore in large numbers, and making themselves ridiculously conspicuous by their gab. Hayseed in their hair. Kansas
this is a headline. Now remember, this is a headline.
It's amazing.
It's a very long headline, but it's like one of those New York Times headlines that goes on and on and on.
And then Kansas alliancers proclaim their politics by the uncouthness of their personal attire.
Isn't that awesome?
It's so awesome, and it so could be out of today about Sanders. But Michael,
it's the deplorables. I mean, they've done everying but use the word.
Okay, yes, you're right.
One of the things about the experts question is that these people who keep on bemoaning the sort of lack of expert, credibility amongst the popular masses.
People,
they do things like conflate things like climate scientists with economists.
Yes. And
that's the same thing, but they are not the same thing.
And also with foreign policy experts. I love that one. It's like, well, you listen to your doctor, don't you? Well, you should listen to the CIA.
Exactly. Which is like, they're not the same thing. Like economics is not a science in the way like physics is.
It's not a hard science.
And so in my last book, in Listen Liberal, I did it was about the problems with having a political party based on the professional class. Actually, there's no problem with that. You can do that. The problem is when that's the monopolistic party of the left. When instead of being a party about working people and the working class and ordinary people, it becomes a party that speaks to the dreams and needs and desires and et cetera of a particular slice of the elite. And the professionals and professionalism have been studied to death by scholars. So when I was in graduate school, this was a very hot subject at the time, to study the professions. And they have all sorts of things wrong with them. The idea that they're just right and you trust them.
Right.
No, it's not that simple. There's all kinds. They make mistakes all the time, and they're very predictable mistakes.
I think we should start pathologizing anti-populists and anti-populism, and we should have a conference of anti-populist studies. I'm serious. It's a really
wouldn't that be awesome? Let's see you get a grant for that. Let's see you go to the MacArthur Foundation and get a grant for that, Katie Halper.
But
first step: form a 501c3. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The Ford Foundation is going to love it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like
they might.
There is the thing that I think sometimes
things like that all my life. By the way, they've never happened. So.
Well, but you didn't get the Katie Halper Show bump, so now we have to see. We'll combine forces, but we'll make it a Patreon funded event.
Well, have a conference. Well, here's what I'm wondering. And
guys,
by the way,
subscribe, patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show, patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Yeah.
Here's what I'm wondering. So they have all these academic conferences where they denounce populism. There's one that I came across called the Prague Populism Conference. They have it every year. So here's the question.
It's like the Coachella of the academic world.
It's the Prague One Idea Festival.
Yeah.
But will they invite me? I will right now bet you $20.
Let's tell them to invite you. Progress to Prague. So but the thing that sometimes I think the left, we should just own is the fact that, of course, they're being equal but opposite is extremely useful. Like, there's a reason that Trump and Sanders both speak to a certain population, and the stupidity and elitist.
But Katie, nevertheless, they are different.
Well, okay.
I know that's really hard to understand.
Well, right. It's not only nevertheless.
By the way, so did Biden.
Right, but it's not only nevertheless they are different, but it's precisely because they speak to an overlapping audience, potentially, that is so important. In other words, that's how you knock it out. You don't knock out right-wing populism with milk toast, middle of the road, moderate stuff.
Yeah. Well, you don't just say, "God damn it, I'm an expert. Don't you see my rank?" You know, get back in line, soldier.
Have you read my peer-reviewed articles?
Yeah.
Maybe you should.
Well, they actually wait. The whole idea of peer-reviewed articles is that you can't read them. You know, they are inaccessible to you. That's
I'll give you my JSTOR subscription if you want my JSTOR subscription.
No, I know, but what I mean is that most academic professions, with a few exceptions here and there, like history, have succeeded in pulling up the drawbridge so that you can't participate, and you often can't. Like professional economics, it's very difficult to understand what they're saying because it's not just jargon. They've gone beyond jargon. They're doing math. They speak to each other, and it's impenetrable, and it's meant to be impenetrable.
Right.
That's the dirty, dark secret of professionalism.
Right. But it's just I think that we should embrace the fact that there's some parallels, because that's what makes left-wingism so potent and so powerful, is that in other words, I think a lot of centrists and elitists, they see it as, and actually I don't care about them because they're the deplorables. The professional managerial class, I think a lot of them, some of them can be redeemed and brought over, but some of them are lost causes.
Like us.
Deplorables. But
wait, you're on something really important here, which is swing voters. Okay, the age-old concept of swing voters, and all my life we've been told something that is the sort of wrong about swing voters, which is that they are the people in the middle of the spectrum. They're the suburbanites who are conservative on economic issues and liberal on the culture war issues. And so that's the swing voters. And we have to reach out to them. We have to become more conservative, like Bill Clinton, right? Like the Democratic Leadership Council. And we have to tailor our message to those people. We have to move to the right. The Democratic Party has to move to the right. And then we can win those people. And I just want to say that, in fact, there is a different group of swing voters out there. The ones that gave Trump Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, the ones that I've been writing about since What's the Matter with Kansas, which is the essentially the white working class, who have been going in the course of our lifetimes from being, in my lifetime anyway, solid Democrats. I mean, I was born in 1965. There was no more solid group. I mean, professionals were Republicans then, but working, members of unions and stuff like that, that was the Democratic Party. And in the course of my lifetime have completely changed sides. And that's the thing that is killing us and has been killing us since Nixon, is when the Republicans figured out that the Democrats were walking away from the, working class people. The Republicans are like, hey, look, if we can win these people over, we got it made. And that's the end of the game,
And the narrative that the elites tell themselves is that the white working class abandoned the Democratic Party because of civil rights.
Yeah, which is not entirely correct.
Right.
So there's a
it's
point
partly
in the book.
true, but there's not There's more to it.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. Because the unions, by and large were, the big ones, the like the United Auto Workers and stuff, were very good on civil rights. They were very, very supportive of the movement, and it was more complicated. The Vietnam War was a huge factor there, and also the change in the Democratic Party. The Democrats, as I showed in Listen Liberal in great detail, the Democrats deliberately abandoned these people and deliberately reached out for a new constituency group. Now, but it's fun to think that. It's fun to attribute all the world's. It's comforting to think that. Wait, you had your finger on something really damn important, Nando.
No,
and now I've forgotten what it was.
This idea that the Democrats lost the white working class just because they're irredeemably racist, and the Democrats passed civil rights, and they were never forgiven for it.
That's the point. Bayard Rustin. So one of the thinkers in the book that I go back to again and again. He's one of these guys that just got everything right,
and he's been erased from history for that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's for that, but he is largely forgotten. And he was Martin Luther King's right-hand man, and he organized the famous March on Washington in 1963. But he writes these articles when this narrative is emerging in the late 60s and early 70s. Big thinkers and big publications at the time were saying, look, the reactionary group in American life today is the white working class. And he said, not so fast. He said, if you appeal to them this way, they're going to go for Nixon. If you do this law and order thing and that sort of stuff, and if you get their fears, if you make them afraid and make them work, if you appeal to them in this other way, the traditional populist, a great society, New Deal kind of way, they're very progressive. And we can win them. And in fact, this could be, well, the sad thing is that he and a bunch of other people were saying this, early 70s, this could be a time of, unprecedented, victories for the left. Do you remember Martin Luther King proposed this thing called the freedom budget? He and his colleagues wrote this, and it was this grand scheme for where to go with, a new Deal, like 10 times the size of the New Deal, a new great society, just push it further and further, great education for everyone, great housing for everyone, great healthcare for everyone. And they figured out how much it would cost. And the thing is, there's a lot of white working class people who would really like that.
Yeah.
It's not even hard. It's not even a contest. That's like, that would be good.
Yeah.
And if you make your appeal based on something like that, I mean, it's obviously it's the people who wrote it and who dreamed it up were the leadership of the civil rights movement. And so they are putting, the fate of Black people, foremost in this document, but they're also saying, look, this is how we want to appeal to everybody.
Right.
And I'm sorry to say, that would have been one hell of a winner. That was a really good idea, and that can win to this day. And now I was about to say something nice about Biden.
No.
I don't know if you wanted to.
No, you can't do that on the show.
Well, no. I mean, no, I have to.
But the point that I wanted to make was this, Katie, and this is true, that during the primaries, he and Bernie, in this weird way, although Elizabeth Warren and Bernie, their politics were very similar, but it was Biden and Bernie were the ones that were competing for the sort of the
white working class.
Well, not just the working class generally.
Yeah.
And for that was where they were both aiming. And
it is working class generally. Yeah, you're right. They're just framed as that.
And Biden, I mean, this is Biden's, in my opinion, this is his saving grace. If you watch the convention, at least he knows this, and he
knows how to pander. He's a good panderer.
Well,
come on, crime bill.
It might be what has to happen to beat Trump. No, of course we need those things. Yeah, but it might be what has to be done to beat Trump. I mean, I look at Hillary Clinton's convention, and they did the biopic of Hillary's life, and it's like, she is so brilliant, and she's a really accomplished professional, and she's the greatest lawyer, and she's the NGOs love her, and it's like
the greatest board
what
of
are
Walmart.
You doing, Hillary? What are you doing here?
Right.
And Biden's is like, he rides the train. He's friends with the conductor. Right. Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
And it's superficial, and it's it is pandering, but at least he's pandering to the
I think that's
people.
Yeah, Hillary didn't even know how to pander. Hillary wasn't even good at pandering.
And Bill Clinton was good at that as well.
He was excellent. He was excellent at it. But then, of course, he gets in office, and we all know the story.
Well, that's why he has to be good at pandering, so he can just cover for that stuff. And apparently, he did know things were going badly in 2016. According to the Daily Mail, he threw his cell phone off of his patio, his balcony in his Little Rock mansion, which is a hilarious image. So Tom, do you have meals to eat and a family to tend to?
Did I ever tell you about the time I visited the Bill Clinton Presidential Library?
No. Tell me. Was it just like children? And I'm kidding.
I visited it and the 2 Bush presidential libraries all in one long weekend. And, I drove around to them all, and I wrote about this for Salon, and it was anyhow, it was fascinating because Clinton is so proud of these things that that nobody is proud of anymore. Like, he was really into charter schools. Look at all the people that they went sent to prison. The crime bill, welfare reform. What an excellent idea. All of those things that he did. And you're walking through his library being like, oh my God. But it is in keeping with his personality. It's every last little goddamn detail. They just hit you with information, tons and tons of information. Whereas the Bush libraries are all just like
painting.
Something happened, and then another thing happened. And
right.
But these are all great propaganda institutions.
Yeah. Well, we have our panel starting, and we would love for you to stay, but we also understand.
I also have to eat. That's why I thought of that, because when I was in Little Rock, I went to Bill Clinton's favorite steakhouse.
Oh, how was it?
It was fantastic.
Of course. I just think the guy has good taste in steak.
He's a fancy lad too these days.
Stop! How about that? Dad,
a fancy lad, is that what you just said?
Nightshade. Yeah. Are you going to watch? I thought we were all going to watch.
Yeah.
I set up in here so we're going to watch.
You guys are going to watch the convention on TV or something?
Yeah. She's going to subject me to it.
I moved.
We didn't talk about. I really want to get your opinion about certain aspects of it. I may call you tomorrow. I need to see what you think about it. Like that the keynote speech with 80 different speakers, or whatever it was. Kind of an interesting. The technical gaffes are really.
Oh yeah, they
creepy,
are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just can't imagine.
Biden wasn't walking. She's like standing.
Biden getting the words "first lady" wrong.
Oh yeah.
I felt so sorry for him. But I was at Trump's convention, right? The Democratic convention in 2016 went off without a hitch. It was perfect. Trump's convention was this fiasco. Yeah. I mean, everything went wrong. They couldn't do anything. They booed Ted Cruz off the stage.
Oh yeah.
Even like the display up above, that was it almost exploded. It just went totally haywire. Nothing worked until Trump himself appeared on the stage. But anyhow.
You got to come back because we could talk for way longer.
Yeah. We should do this again.
Yeah.
We should do this again.
This was great.
Trump's convention.
It's a big honor for me, and because I've been a longtime fan, and this is
awesome. Thank you very much. That's really nice of you to say
thank you. We'll have to do a longer stream soon. I'll book. Well,
I think I'm putting your audience to sleep with my.
Not at all. The comments are all positive. They say they love your nerdy energy. They're saying how sexy you look.
Oh, come on now!
I swear to God,
I'm not looking at the comments, but someone suggested I don't shower, which is just rude.
That's mean.
I think that maybe. I don't feel insecure about it because I'm someone who does shower, but it's like, just hit me on something I'm insecure about, and then I'll shatter. Don't worry.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, and I'll put the link to your book in the website in the YouTube.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you so much, and everyone. Really, it's an excellent book. It's so good.
Yes.
Buy all of his books. This, and also, I think most people understand what's the matter with Kansas. Buy all of his books, but this and Listen Liberal are really eye-opening.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Take it easy.
All righty. So guys, we are now moving into the segment, the DNC segment. And we got Ben Burgis joining us. Look at that.
Look at him.
And we got Brent Welder joining us. Look at that. And we got Leslie Lee joining us. Look at that.
Hey,
how cool is that? Hey.
Sausage fest and a half.
I know. I'm trying to get some more women. Someone has an echo. Let's see. I can figure out who it is. Watch this. It's actually Leslie.
Oh, come on.
My gamer headphones might actually just be loud. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Turn them down.
Yeah, I hear a buzz and some. Yeah. How is everyone? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Great.
much for having us, Katie.
Yes.
Louder for the people in the back. Come on. What the hell?
Yeah. We're having another guest come on shortly, and then Malaika Jabali will be joining us later. But wanted to know your guys' thoughts on. And by the way, I moved into hold on a second. You guys can come watch. I moved into the living room with my parents so we could all watch the show.
Such a millennial.
So we could watch the DNC together and be disgusted together.
By the way, I'm disappointed that I just missed Tom Frank by that much.
Yeah, same.
I think I told you last time I was on. My wife and I had him. You know, he's a fellow Kansan, although I think he's an immigrant to Maryland now. But my wife and I had him at our law firm a few weeks ago for what we thought was going to be like afternoon wine. Although he apparently was also working, so he couldn't partake.
And the clothes started coming off.
Yeah.
It got weird. I've been there. We've all heard the stories with Tom Frank. Yeah. I know.
But I made more enemies out of that visit because as I told a few people about it afterwards, like my brother-in-law and some friends of mine, they were like, "You had Tom Frank at your office and you didn't invite us?"
Oh yeah.
And then I was immediately, off the friends list.
It's rude to not invite your friends and family to the orgy.
Yeah. No, Tom Frank is great. He really is great.
Exactly.
So hold on, I'm just sending this to one more guest. Yeah, come in, turn on the TV. So you're gonna meet my parents and some of their dogs. Okay, so 1 second. And guys, introduce yourselves, or I'll do that in a second. This is going from the left, not necessarily ideologically, but perhaps. We have Leslie Lee, who is the host of the Struggle Session podcast, also a writer, film critic, pop culture critic. And then we have Brent Welder, who is an attorney, former congressional candidate, member of the Democratic Platform Committee rules.
I've done both. Yes, the Platform Committee and the Rules Committee. So you were actually right there. Yeah,
okay, on the Rules Committee, and a defender of an attempted anti-corruption warrior. No, an anti-corruption warrior who has been surpringly dissed by the DNC.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Or unsurprisingly, yeah.
Yeah. And then Ben Burgis, who is the host of Give Them an Argument, the podcast, and also is a video show host as well. That's kind of I don't know how to. Yeah, I was trying to center your podcast.
I appreciate that. Yeah. The podcast also. Yeah, it's a YouTube show and podcast, and I also do some video commentaries for Jacobin and Zero Books.
Right. Yeah. And in the room I have. Should I show? Do you guys want to be on screen? You don't have to be. All right. Let's see. Ready, Mom? Okay. Here we go. So here's my mom, Nora Eisenberg. Say hi, Mom. Writer, feminist, journalist.
Hi, Miss Nora.
Mom, Leslie Lee says hi.
Hi, Leslie. How are you?
She says hi. Are you gonna? He says he's great. My dad, Jim Halper, psychiatrist. Woody Allen's character. Both my parents are. Emily Jane Goodman. Can I say who you are? Supreme Court retired. What do I say? Are you always that? Once you're that, so you're still okay. It's like a doctor. New York State Supreme Court judge, who was labeled Judge Poodle by, however you want. Labeled MSNBC is the best one. Labeled Judge Poodle. Oh, I gotta get this thing ready. By who called you Judge Poodle? Who? The New York Post, because she was the lapdog of the left. That's what they called her. Okay, so now I'm going to share the screen so we can actually watch this terrible DNC thing, so that we can have fun, so we can laugh instead of cry, right? All right, 1 second, guys. And really, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Kamala.
Okay, Kamala's on. Wow. All right, 1 second, sorry.
It's an awesome opening already.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Where's the link? Why can't I do the search? Oh, sorry. Does anyone have a link of the...
And folks making it harder for you to cast your ballot. So
all right. Let's see. Okay, I got it. Here we go. Here we go. All right.
Why is there so much
Why?
effort to silence?
Well, I think my live stream right now has more views than theirs. Hold on a second.
Look, Chapo's actually outdid the number of viewers that the official DNC did.
Oh, really?
Really? Most people know what's going on.
I'm trying to play it. Why isn't it playing? Hold on, sorry.
So each of us needs a plan.
Hold on.
I this is terrible, but I can't stop thinking about what would have happened if Kanye had decided to have like a live concert every night for 2 hours during the
Would have been
convention,
great, right?
and inevitably would have gotten more viewers. You know,
100%.
probably.
Why is this not playing? Hold on one second. It's almost okay. Now I got it. Sadly, sorry. 1 second.
You know, several years. I guess it was the 2008 convention when I was working for the Teamsters. We were in they gave us one of the sky boxes at the big football field, and 2 boxes down from us were Oprah Winfrey and Kanye West.
That's
Actually,
like a perfect. That's a perfect distillation of the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Can you guys hear now?
It's
Can you
like
hear? Can you hear?
Welcome to
It's like double. We're
of the
hearing two
Democratic
things.
National Convention. I'm honored to
why
be
are you
joining
hearing
as
two
we
things?
continue to
Because there's
celebrate
another
this
audio coming in.
unconventional
There's this
convention.
woman
Hold on.
speaking, but
We're
then
going to
another
be hearing a
woman
lot
speaking in the
more
background.
from Senator Harris later, I promise. But first,
Hold on.
No.
It's that loud? You can hear it? Okay, I see.
We
How do I
memorized
do
the
this?
preamble
All
of the
right.
Constitution,
So we may
and
have
I've
to.
never forgotten it.
Written, women
What
couldn't
happened?
vote. Black people are considered
Okay, so let me mute this on mine. Can you guys watch it on yours?
But it is the striving toward
Does that make
justice,
sense?
equality,
Hold on.
and truth that distinguishes us. We fight for a more
I understand that we can hear the audio in my room. I'm trying to figure out how to do it so that.
and for
All right.
our lives.
Guys,
right
you may
now,
have to.
That fight is real.
They're not in
Tonight,
sync.
We are
So,
going to hear from so
I guess I
many
should go in the other
phenomenal
room.
women
I didn't
who are
realize that you'd
working
be able
help
to
us
hear
build that more perfect
from the
union.
outside. I don't really
Speaker
get
Nancy
that.
Pelosi, Secretary
All right.
Hillary Clinton,
Or let me
Senator
mute mine. Hold
Elizabeth
on.
Warren,
Let me see if I mute
Governor
it.
Michelle
Do you have
Lujan
other places to watch it or no?
We're going to see an
Yeah, I can
incredible
watch
performance
it.
from
I can just open up another tab.
Okay. Can you hear it now?
I mean, if you went
Yeah.
to the other room, that might be easiest.
I
so-
know. The only thing is I have a light and mic, couple of
Oh,
books.
okay.
Can you guys want to watch it? No. How can I no, there's no way. I could try to sit in front of the TV. That's what doesn't really make sense. Yeah, get rid of your noise. Yeah.
The most important voice. We hope to hear
It's that noise, the audio from that. Yeah. All right. See, I try to be social and watch with my parents. And I'm punished. Do you have the setup upstairs? Can you guys watch upstairs? No. All right. How about on a laptop? I am watching on a laptop, but I don't want to have to move. What? All right, you're gonna help me move all this stuff? All right. Hold on, guys. Sorry. All right. Sorry. I'm gonna turn off my thing for a second. I'm gonna let Rania in. Hi, Rania Khalik.
Hi.
Another guest.
Hi.
Okay. I'm
Hey,
gonna remove myself while I set this up, and then I'll be right back.
It seems like they've had a lot more celebrities at this convention than the other
Yeah,
ones.
is that what's her name?
From Scandal, Kerry
No,
Washington.
yeah. What? Seriously? Is this like ABC, the channel ABC, with all its dramas? All their actors are coming out to MC. Like, what the hell?
Is it just because it's like remote and they don't have to like leave their couch to do it?
No, I think it's because the Democrats are just that's who like represents their party is like
Yeah.
a bunch of celebrities and former Republicans.
Yeah, that's especially true with Kamala because like she did more events with celebrities in the run up to the primary for the little time she was in it than she actually did like events with like people.
Yeah.
So she was always doing like she was gonna do something with like UCB. She was gonna do like a special like improv thing or something with that.
I remember like in all the Obama kind of staffer look backs at the administration. They were all like competing to see whose idea it was to have Obama do funny Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah,
you know, like that was like the most important thing of the entire Obama presidency. I just wonder, like, I wonder if like celebrities are a net negative overall. You know,
I think they definitely don't appeal to like the average person. Like most people don't relate to them. Like they relate to their characters, but to watch all of them host the entire convention, because it looks so scripted. Like they just look like they're acting, because they are. Like there's so much they do.
It's a weird combination of like the worst of looking super scripted at the same time that it seems like no one who knows what they're doing has anything to do with like setting up the Zoom stuff, like all the weird technical gaffes and silences. You know, so it's like we're going to have all these celebrities so we seem fake, but we're also not going to be polished.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like the craziest part is, aside from how creepy it is the way that they don't talk about any policy.
No.
Anyway.
No.
Like, right, completely absent.
It's all an affect. It's all like a cultural sensibility. There's nothing actually real behind it.
And it's also weird because it seems to like just totally like be going out of their way to confirm like what the like Trumpian narrative about them would be, right? You know, that's like, oh, see, these are the people that are against me. They're like, you know, coastal elite celebrities, and the establishment hates me so much they have like the Republican establishment there too.
Yeah, they're behaving like a caricature of what like Republic or what like Fox News thinks the libs are.
Like that Billy Porter music video.
So good.
That looked like
I loved it. That was my favorite part, actually. But
that was so bizarre.
No, or the Lena Dunham video that she did.
There was
in 2016 she did a music video about Hillary. It was like a rap song. Oh my god, it was like one of the most cringe things I've ever seen. But
at the end of that song, she even threw in this like little cutesy self-aware line about how this is probably hurting Hillary, isn't it?
Okay, guys, I'm coming back. I'm going to set it up.
Katie.
Yeah, Brent, you said you went to the DNC in 2008. I've been to 2012 and 2016, and they were both like some of the most soul-sucking things. They're the most pointless things. They don't make any sense anymore. That is actually a thing.
But okay, so I was there in 2016, and compared to like this, like 2016 was at least they made it entertaining. What the hell are we watching? Like I know it's all virtual, but it's so bad.
I just need.
Like it's
so I shouldn't probably be telling this story, but I'm going to anyway.
Do it.
It whenever somebody earlier was talking about how these celebrities they're just doing a script and it's not really what they think. So I worked on Obama's campaign in the Iowa caucus back in 2008, the first time he ran, and they sent some celebrities to Iowa to campaign all day. So I got to spend the day with Olivia Wilde, Cal Penn, some of the others. And Olivia Wilde, who was super extremely nice, really nice. I'm so sorry I have to tell this story, but when we were talking to her throughout, like when she wasn't on stage, I mean, there was just like nothing going on there, right? Like I mean, I was just trying to have the most basic policy discussions, and it just like wasn't happening. But the moment she got on stage in front of these people at these events and started reciting like the script, or that was clearly that she either wrote or somebody gave to her or whatever, it was unbelievable. It was so exciting. It was so passionate, and you would just think that she was just like the most incredible, you know, knowledgeable policy person on the face
it's crazy because her uncle was Alexander Cockburn.
Right, that's why.
Legend. What the fuck, Olivia Wilde? You didn't learn anything?
I always thought she was like super lefty because of that.
And it might be that she just had no interest in talking to me, which is like perfectly
maybe there's something else going on there.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just out of your league. I don't know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But it was very clear that, like, you know, what the role of an actor is, which is to deliver lines amazingly, and nobody was better at it than she was. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
I just don't know what this crap. I just like don't. The last two nights, like even from like a strategic perspective, aside from like the fact that the Democratic Party sucks right now, like what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? Why is there a person playing an instrument right now? I don't even
know. What was super interesting, actually, that I think they should be doing a lot more of was the documentary style opening of Jill Biden. I thought was extremely interesting. Like, I think it seems like they would have the opportunity to actually do almost like a documentary. Then I was even thinking maybe some kind of like, they just show like an 8-hour documentary interspersed with speeches or something. I just think it would be so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'd be so much more interesting to tell me what you're going to do about the pandemic and the economy.
We can't do that. Can't do that.
Like, it's like,
you can't fucking do that. Are you crazy, Rania?
Yeah, I guess I am, because there's a crashing economy right now and it's only going to get worse.
No.
And I haven't heard a single policy prescription from anyone except like
No,
AOC.
we have to unite as a country.
Around what? I don't really
Nothing.
understand. Around the flag.
Around this demented old man who can't speak in complete sentences.
It's so bad. Like, how is this a thing? How is this a thing? Also, did you guys see, like, there's like all these polls coming out showing that Trump is like gaining, and like Biden is apparently behind where Hillary Clinton was at this time in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Branko Marcetic just tweeted out like the Real Clear Politics average at the state level in Michigan, Pennsylvania. He's behind where Hillary was at this point. I mean, he's gonna win the popular vote by a bigger margin than Hillary did. But might still lose the election. Yeah.
We'll wait until after the RNC though. He'll surge. I mean,
the polls will tighten. Absolutely, like partisanship is such that the polls will tighten inevitably. Like people will like revert back to the mean in some way. So like this idea that they're just going to coast to an easy victory is just insane.
Well, also given like the electoral system, they can't. Like it's not like California and New York liberals are going to win it for them.
No.
Like it's really stunning. You know, it's kind of like they went out of their way to pick the most unpopular people imaginable. Like, and also someone who can't like speak in coherent sentences, because they just want to see like how bad their side can be without like losing. I don't know. Like, I was actually really shocked by the Kamala pick because I think she's really like she's not a charming person. She did very poorly in the Democratic primary.
Biden tanked in the polls after the announcement.
Yeah,
he got no Kamala bump.
It made no sense, but like from a studio, it made no sense. Like I don't understand. Like it's like she's from California. She's not bringing you a state that can actually help you win. Like it didn't make any sense to me. I don't really understand like what the thinking was there. It's almost like they just wanted to pick somebody who they could be like, oh look, we picked the right identity, and that's it.
She's a BIPOC.
Yeah, she's a BIPOC. We picked a BIPOC.
Hell yeah.
And all is good. Like I just like
they always make terrible picks. The establishment, they always make a terrible. I mean, think about Tim Kaine. I mean, I'm not a big Kamala Harris fan, but compared to Tim Kaine, my God, I mean,
he was a better pick than Kamala Harris. Like as far as winning goes, like she did very, very poorly. Like
it was just so hilarious that Tim Kaine was anti-abortion. Like it's the funniest. It's like that's actually kind of the funniest thing in the world that like Hillary Clinton somehow was able to rebrand herself as like the most woke person of all time, and then chooses anti-choice.
He's anti-right to work, which honestly I think it's harder to find a Democrat that's like anti-right to work.
Kamala gives him a run for her. It's funny because she literally wouldn't let prisoners out of jail because she needed them to work for $1 a day.
Right.
That's pretty. I mean. That like, she said she's a cop. She's like, I'm a cop.
I remember back when Al Gore picked Joe Lieberman. Oh my God! And then next thing you know, 8 years later, or 4 years later, or whatever, he was speaking at the RNC.
Of course, the most ridiculous VP pick was Barack Obama picking Joe Biden for some reason.
Well, that actually made sense because Barack Obama is black, and he needed like a white tough guy. Like strategically, that actually makes sense.
From a swing state.
He was racist, so when people were like,
for the racists.
No, Joe Biden isn't racist. Like, no, that's why Obama picked him.
Okay.
They assure white people.
Yay.
It's awesome because because when he was running in the primaries this time,
Can everyone hear it?
his all-purpose get out of jail free pass for anything that had to do with race was Barack Obama pick me.
Climate advocates and activists.
I just
putting forward
realized
a plan to address climate
Can you
change.
hear it now?
A clean
Yeah.
energy economy.
All right.
Olivia
What did I
Pope is
miss?
talking.
I know. I think she's the only. Oh my God! How much do we hate this song, by the way?
We the people.
I've heard it so many times. Are we supposed to not talk because people want to hear this stuff?
But there's one.
I don't think so.
They don't want to hear that shit.
No, they don't want to
They're
hear
here
it.
to hear us, right?
Anybody, how many people
crisis
I
is
want to know,
and we
do
must
we know
act.
how many
It is
people
the
are
most
watching?
pressing issue of our time.
Our
and it
thing or
deserves
theirs?
to be treated
No,
as
theirs.
such.
Like, do we
We
know how many
no
people are
longer
actually
have any
watching the
time to
DNC?
wait.
Our generation will
Let's
bear
see.
the burden of past.
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't seen any.
7,000 on C-SPAN.
It will be too late.
But I mean, usually you would see in the press they would come out with the Nielsen ratings.
Wind, solar, geothermal.
I don't know if it's a good
anybody seen
idea. I don't know if it's a good idea to have on their
Being
sound and
highly
us.
competitive.
Okay. So you want us? You want me to? How should we do it?
I don't know.
So that we can give our children.
I mean, do we watch and then?
No. Fuck
Yeah.
this shit.
I can't watch this. I
You
can't
know,
watch
like-
it. I can't do it.
If they want to watch it, they can just watch it.
All right.
You know?
So we should just have the no sound, and then when it's good. For
Yeah.
them- All right.
Until something good
All right.
comes on.
All right. You guys will be the judges of that.
No, but yeah, Nielsen rated. Yeah, there haven't been like any Nielsen.
I haven't seen
numbers.
anything. I'm sure it might be out there, but I haven't seen
Who's this
anything.
man?
Which
So we can
certainly
ask-
they must not be good, or else you'd think the DNC would be like crowing about them, right?
Is that a Hitler cross on her left?
The other night, my wife and I were trying to watch the convention. It was night one, and our 4-year-old daughter kept like coming downstairs. She was supposed to be in bed, kept coming downstairs over and over again. And finally, my wife goes, "Let's let her actually watch this convention because it will put her to sleep." We brought her down. Literally, we were like, "Okay, you can watch with us." Within 3 minutes, she was sound asleep.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep to it last night.
Better than
Yeah,
Ambien.
it put me to sleep. Yeah.
But it may drive you to eat as much as Ambien's the one that makes people eat, right?
I haven't
don't know,
watched
I-
a single second of it. And
Really?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm
That's
happy.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernie was good.
I miss
And-
him.
I couldn't watch it. It would have made me cry. It would have made me too sad. I couldn't bring myself to watch it.
Brent, how much time have you spent with Bernie?
Me?
With Bernie?
Oh, Brent.
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, I don't know.
But he trusts you.
He came out and campaigned with me for a whole day.
Yeah.
So that
A
was
whole
super
day?
cool. Or well, I mean, whatever, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. But I love Bernie Sanders. I think he's great. I'm a little bit sad that he's getting a little bit, a little bit of criticism in the progressive community right now. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's really justified.
I get both sides of it, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I get like why I get from his perspective why he's doing what he's doing, and I understand why people are upset with him.
Yeah. I just
Like,
think
I
like
get it.
ultimately, what's he gonna do? It's,
I can't see Leslie's
Oh.
face because I'm not zoomed in enough, but I imagine I can see the wheels turning. Leslie, you have any takes on
I
this?
have no comment whatsoever. I'm completely checked out. You asked if people have been watching convention. I've been watching something much more important. I've been catching up on Real Housewives.
hell yeah.
Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills, nice.
Yeah, I'm just here chilling, hanging out. I disavow. I'm divested in the entire process right now. So
Nice.
just
Well, Leslie,
enjoying the show.
Leslie, I'll have you know that after my appearance on Struggle Session with you talking about Smashing Pumpkins, Daniel Bessner reached out about doing a podcast about grunge music, and we've been working on it.
Oh,
my
awesome!
God.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great.
He has this whole theory about how grunge music came about because of the collapse of the lumber industry in the Pacific Northwest in the 1970s. And he wants to do a whole thing about the political economy of grunge music. And I was like, that sounds fun. Let's do that.
That's cool.
What an academic.
Yeah, well, he's a fucking nerd, but he's a good dude.
Wait, why don't we need closed captions on this? I think.
Are there?
No, we really don't. We really don't need any.
Honestly, Katie, like you know what they're all saying. They're all saying
Right.
the same
We could just do it. Like we could mount.
Yeah.
Like we could dub it for them.
Why don't we do that? Let's dub it. Why doesn't each person have a chance to dub?
Yeah, it's like okay, like okay.
Ready, one, go. I'm
Climate change is the most important issue of our time. As the Republicans are rolling back Obama-era regulations, Joe Biden will fight to save our planet's future.
Stop giving them things to say. You're like giving them ways to like
Right.
make their convention better now.
This is actually pretty good. Each of us gets like a minute to do the voiceover.
Yeah.
That was quite good. That was quite good.
Yeah, you know.
I am a delegate. I'm a delegate.
I'm a former Republican. I
voted for the Iraq War.
I voted for the Iraq
should
War.
just
Now
get
I vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
The world
The two
is-
proudest votes in my life were for the Iraq War and for Joe Biden in the Democratic primary.
Yeah, baby. Next up, China.
Yeah.
This kid's
I mean,
blaming. This kid's blaming.
Did you guys read Matt Karp's piece in Jacobin that just came out? It's like 5 billion words long, but it's very good. And he basically tracks like the amount of Republicans that voted in the Democratic primary for Biden is like absurd. You know, it's way bigger than I had realized.
The amount of what? Say that
The
again.
amount of former Republicans who voted for Biden in the Democratic primary in affluent districts, like in Fairfax, Virginia, and in like Orange County.
You know, it'd be funny. It would be funny if those people then went and voted for Trump in the general.
They might.
I could see
They
that.
might.
happening.
They might because Biden will go too far. He's going to be too Black Lives Matter, and they're going to vote.
That actually might be true. That might be
It's
true.
funny how the Dems managed to do. They're the worst of all worlds. They're like symbolically abrasive to non-Dems, and they have none of. They're radical in their aesthetic and total moderates in their policy.
Yeah.
So like writing Black Lives Matter on the street achieves nothing. But
Also, the
it does
person who
alienate
wrote it-
people who feel like that's a weird thing. And I'm not saying those people should be pursued, but I guess it's just a way of seeming woke while not doing anything.
But that's also the person who wrote that is Muriel Bowser, the mayor of DC, and she's like the perfect encapsulation of what you're talking about because she is very close with developers. There are lots of Black homeless people because of her policies in the District of Columbia.
Also, the wife of Bowser, the villain of Mario Brothers.
Exactly.
Horrible person.
That was the first thing I thought when I heard her name. I was like the guy from Mario Brothers that I beat at the end of each world. But she's perfect. Like all she did was write Black Lives Matter on the street, and everybody's celebrating her. But she's like, so many people have been kicked out of their homes.
You did a really good video on that, Ron. Yeah,
I did it. Yeah, I did like a little mini documentary on that, and it was awful.
really good.
It's like
That's
there's all these homeless Black families in DC because of her policies. I guess their lives don't matter, but like, I mean, it's like she is like the perfect representation of the Democratic Party. Is like just all these like theatrical gestures and like sort of adopting these phrases, putting in their bios like she, her. Like nobody and nobody thought Elizabeth Warren wasn't a she her, but like it's just like this like symbolic like, hey, I like trans people, but like it's pathetic and it's really depressing because like we're in a really urgent moment right now. Like it's all fun and like we're all laughing and stuff, but shit is serious.
Yeah.
Like the shit happening right now is so serious, and these people aren't taking it seriously.
Yeah.
They're like feeding us really stupid videos that nobody can relate to, that excites nobody, and that actually does nothing for like the millions, tens of millions of people who like might be evicted and don't have jobs right now. It's insane.
But Joe Biden can drive a green Camaro down his driveway.
Right.
Like nobody's business.
Yeah.
That's the thing that drives me the most crazy, even more infuriating than Colin Powell being invited to speak as someone
He's BIPOC.
who basically he is BIPOC and he's lied about WMDs.
Yeah.
But for me, the big thing that kills me is just you talking about his son, talking about Beau, and not realizing that standing in the way of Medicare for all, you're just really you're literally condemning people to the very things that you are happy your son didn't have to deal with, and the reason he had to deal with that was just from because he was lucky. Not because this is a right.
Because Obama gave him a bunch of money. That's why his son was able to afford. Wasn't that it? Like Obama was able to loan Joe Biden money while he was VP, and that was his version of Medicare.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a weird thing about Biden, right? That like he spent his entire life being like the toady for like credit card companies in Delaware and stuff, but he never actually even got a payoff for it.
He never actually was able to, he's too stupid to cash in his entire life.
Exactly, yeah.
This is the man we want president. Like, I don't know, on that level alone, Trump is
smarter,
superior to Biden.
Yeah. This is at least Olivia Carey Washington. She, I think, is the most recognizable of all the hosts so far, right?
Yeah, she's on a house.
Like, who? I don't think I know Eva Longoria's name. I knew Ross. I knew there was like a Tracy and involved in the name and a Ross, and she was Diana
Ross.
Yeah.
So maybe she would maybe be comparable because Blackish is pretty popular, but she's not technically not top billing on that show, while Kerry Washington, obviously top billing network show. Eva Longoria, maybe she was second or third down on a show 10 years ago, so yes.
Which show was that?
Housewives.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Right, which is a great demographic for Biden voters, right, yeah.
It is about a bunch of, like, suburban housewives who probably all normally vote Republican.
Right.
But they just don't like, they might not like Trump just because he's crass, and so this is who the Democrats are aiming for.
If we combine it with them,
understand how powerful she is, or is it that they were purposely trying to like hold her back? Like what?
The latter.
Yeah.
The latter of those.
You think they actually do?
I actually don't think she's as powerful as progressives think she is, and I don't think she's as
we have
popular.
3 theories now.
Oh.
Well, I think we're wrong to overestimate how her popularity among her district. She's popular among a certain subset of people online. She's popular, but I don't think that that translates into like the popularity we think it does among the
I think her national polling numbers aren't very good, but then again, like it's pretty rare for there to be a Democrat who actually does have good national numbers.
So she has star power, right? She has some star power.
I think what Rania is saying is true, but I think that's not the reason why the Democrats didn't give her like a more prominent role or whatever. It's not that they were like, she's actually not that popular. It's more like, we can't let this woman speak because, you know, she might go off script and say something insane or something, you know.
And I also think that they don't, like, I also think it's a snub too. Like, they know they can snub the progressives, and it's like a snub to people like us. Like, it's just like a way to snub us and to show they don't like us.
But then what do they get? Is it that they're that petty? Because
I think they don't need us.
It's the same thing
they know we're going to vote for them anyway.
At the last convention.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just that petty.
Or it's the same as I was just going to say, it's like the same as all these things, like the DNC platform committee voting down Medicare for all in the context
even though it's symbolic
of a party platform, which is just a meaningless Christmas wish list for activists anyway.
Right.
Like all these things are just kind of gestures like we won so decisively that now we can just like stick your face in the dirt and celebrate.
Not allowing Keith Ellison to run the DNC.
I can't believe that more than any of those things actually really got me angry, because that actually is not just symbolic, I think, but it makes total, I don't know, the older I get, the more I can't stand the Dems. I know that's not that original to say, but it's just like, I'm kind of with Brianna Joy Gray on this, and I know this doesn't have a huge effect, but, you know, Brent, you were on the show with her the same day, and her piece in defense of litmus tests, and it's just like, I mean, obviously the point is like voting is not the only thing, and one person's vote isn't that big of a thing, but like, why don't we say, yeah, we want you come earn our vote?
They don't need to earn our vote.
Brianna Joy Gray, I've been kind of just following her more and more of the stuff she says. She is a genius. I don't know if you guys follow her on Twitter or follow. She just every single day says stuff that's, I mean, she kind of is able to take what I think us as progressives, or at least what I'm thinking, and just boil it down to the clear, most convincing argument. I mean, I think she's just an absolute genius. I really do.
Aside from her very bad opinions on Blade Runner, I 100%.
Yeah, she said horrible.
Yeah, what the hell was
horrible. What the hell? You know, she also loved Black Panther, which was no
Oh
good.
well, we don't
Wow.
even get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're not
but
doing cancel culture tonight.
no, we're not. Good thing we are, or else we
Yeah.
definitely should. Yeah.
But she said one thing the other day that she said she was talking about how people were saying, oh well, the progressives don't like that Kasich and these Republicans are speaking at the convention, but Bernie touted Joe Rogan's endorsement, and she said she said the difference is that Biden courted the Republicans by moving to the right. And Bernie courted Rogan by moving Rogan to the left.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
That was like one of the most brilliant things I have heard. And so, I mean, I thought it was so exactly right.
Not to put too far to port out it. The other difference is that Joe Rogan, wasn't like a union busting governor like Kasich. He didn't lie to the UN about WMD's
power,
Colin Powell, right?
Right.
Joe Rogan is like
a podcaster.
Yeah, Joe Rogan is like a podcaster who usually doesn't even talk about politics. He's probably spends at least twice as much time talking about like MMA and psychedelics, than he does about politics. And when he does talk about politics, he's like basically a good social democrat who's like about like when it comes to things like Medicare for all or like the post office. But he like has some dumb opinions and like sometimes like talks to like bad reactionary people. And it's like that's what you're saying is on the level of this like governor who's destroyed people's livelihoods or this
very anti-choice
rogues gallery of rogue criminals.
Right. I thought we cared about it. I thought that's what we could be dependent to care about. Was abortion. Very anti-choice. He has a surprising soft spot in rhetoric, at least for addiction. I'm pretty sure his wife is in recovery. I have nothing to base that off of, or someone close to him is, because he has it's a kind of inconsistent empathy.
Yeah.
Hey, what are these people talking about?
Okay, all right. Should I play? Hold on, let me play.
Trump is ableist. That's what they're saying.
Is it going to be samosa?
Didn't inform what they should. And the doctors in my town said I wouldn't survive. They gave my mother no hope for my future.
I'm a U.S. citizen, but my mother is undocumented.
And I am a dreamer.
Yo hice lo que cualquier madre haría para salvar la vida de su niña.
My mother did what any mother would do to save her baby's life.
Tomé a mi niña en brazos, viajamos a la frontera. Al llegar al río, la levanté sobre el agua.
I remember how Barack Obama deported more people than any president of the 20th century combined and all that stuff.
Don't you remember Joe Biden tried to stop him?
Yeah,
no, I
Joe
don't
Biden.
I
was like, come on, man. Those Mexicans are good, hardworking people, man.
It's like, come on, man.
About the
We and the Pinky and all men are created.
My mother had no choice.
Trying to
there was
really
no time to
fight
wait
for a
to
better
save my
world
sister.
and really
She
need
came here
help,
looking
and
for a miracle.
you have just the people who created this condition in the first place are the only ones even pretending that they want to help.
We were afraid they would find us and detain us, but she had to save her daughter.
All right, guys, I gotta run.
Nando's okay. Bye, Nando. Thank you.
I'm going to see Anchorman in a drive-in movie theater.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I want to go to
So much better than the Democratic Party.
I know, we're so jealous. Bye, Nando.
Take it easy.
Thank you. See you next week.
We work hard, we contribute to our community, and we pay our taxes. I've gone to school and built a good life for me and my
I think you
family.
can mute it now, Katie. I think it's
All right.
I think it's but what really bothers me though is like people who are like, you have to vote for Joe Biden because Trump, like Rania, you care about foreign policy. Donald Trump has done a lot of war.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I mean,
but Rania, you're not, you were kind of is everyone here on this list? Most people I've spoken to have said, no, obviously I'm going to vote for Biden. I'd vote for him in a swing state, including you the last time I checked with you, Rania.
Yeah. I'm just talking about like people who like what they're doing right now. No, what they're doing right now where they're like trotting out like, oh, here are people who've had like a shitty time because of the way that Donald Trump treats undocumented people. But it's like, are we really just going to pretend like Democrats don't do the same shit?
Right.
Maybe they don't do it as bad, but actually they deported more people. And when it comes to war, it kind of just depends what country you're in. Like some places have been worse under Trump, but some places were worse under Obama. So it's kind of like, you can't do this and just pretend that your party is okay. Like this is all like a lie. Like we're watching one big lie. Like, at least be honest. At least be honest.
Doesn't it just seem like the higher people get in the party, and I was thinking this as I was watching this convention, the more dead they are in their eyes. Like because and I mean, I'm not even I'm being honest, because it's kind of interesting because they have been putting a lot of like regular people, or even during the roll call, which is like mid-level regular people, whatever, and it's like real actual people with real energy and real passions and real really wanting to make a difference. And then you see these speeches by these establishment politicians that have risen to the top, and there's just nothing. There's just nothing beyond the facade. Yeah.
Like no soul almost. Just like
and I don't know whether it's that like going up, getting higher creates that in them, which I think is part of it. But also I think the other part is that that's how you get to the top of the Democratic Party under the system it is right now, for whatever reason, is that you have to not be willing to stand for anything.
Right.
I mean,
but among the people, there's a lot of good people.
There are a lot of good people, but even among the regular people that we're seeing, like everything is really scripted and everything is very controlled. Like it does nothing. I'm watching. I haven't watched all of it. I've only watched bits and pieces, and I'm just like, I can only stomach so much at a time. But it's almost like they're not really letting real people talk. They're like saying, say this, or let me see what you're going to say and pre-approve it. And like, you're not actually seeing anything real. Like, and all of the conventions always like that, even the real ones where it's not coronavirus. I think they're obviously all very scripted and there's certain speakers who come up, but at least at conventions, you can go hear from people and you see people being interviewed and you can go talk to people. Yeah. But here is just so weird because it's just the scripted part and it's creepy and it's like, I just don't like what I'm seeing. Like it's
like the like a weird, like it feels a little bit like the politics version of like watching like a game right now where it's like creepy because there's no crowd noise. Or worse yet, they do like the Uncanny Valley thing where they have like cardboard fans in the stands, so like, which I guess is supposed to be because it looks less weird.
Oh wait, what's this? I want to hear some
of
this.
A musical performance.
Yeah, let's hear what this is. Let's hear. Oh, Stand By Me. A little reggaeton version of Stand By Me. It's good. It's good cover. Good remix, whatever.
Do you think he was named after Brent?
Hey,
maybe.
I wonder if Joe Biden's gonna tear down the wall.
Or dance. What if he danced to this?
Oh no! But seriously, how amazing would that be if Joe Biden during his speech he's like, tear down that wall, right?
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool. I mean, he obviously won't do it because it would be cool, but
right.
Is this supposed to be like we're gonna stand by like our undocumented brothers and sisters kind of
thing?
Maybe. Is that what Joe Biden's gonna do? Like, is he gonna actually stand by undocumented people? Because last I checked, what's his policy? He's still gonna deport people.
Like, if he doesn't say tear down that wall in his speech, he's missing such an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, and we gave him the answer too.
Yeah. No, but he can't tear down the wall. The fence, it's more a fence than a wall, but it's been being built since the Bush administration, and it continued to be built under the Obama administration. I even went and saw
you can
it.
actually mute this.
I know. I know. Thank you. All right, I muted it. See, that's what happens when you center reggaeton music.
And you start getting into it. It's like, this is actually the best part, I think, of the whole convention.
Yeah.
I have to run, Katie.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Rania,
really
for stopping by.
Yeah. All of you.
Bye, Rania.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Bye,
the
Rania.
convention.
Bye.
We'll try it out. Yeah.
So here's a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so certainly you guys have seen that, like the 30-second ads that the Biden people are putting out online everywhere, where it's Biden face to camera talking. First of all, why are they doing those ads? Because that's like the worst possible way to show us Joe Biden. He clearly can't even read the teleprompter properly for 30 seconds. And so then that raises the question, is his speech going to be live or is it going to be taped? What do you guys think?
Oh.
And would he be able to do a 20 or 30 minute live speech?
Good question.
That's a good question. Because everybody's expecting it to be live, right? It'd be really weird if it wasn't live and kind of long, because that's what a convention speech is supposed to be. I think they'll try to do it live. I think they will actually try to do it live, because I mean that's what they've been leading up to with all these different tests that they've had for him coming out and doing like the corona briefing and all these different things. Like I think they're going to try and see if they can actually try him out live, because they're going to have to eventually for a debate or something before the election at some point.
If he makes like kind of a decent sized gaffe, which he tends to do, that's going to be an enormous. Could you imagine during his convention speech? I mean, it's going to be. I think the Biden team is going to be on pins and needles.
Yeah, seriously. You saw? So they threw. It looks like they threw Linda Sarsour under the bus.
Who's that?
Linda Sarsour.
How did they throw her under the bus? What did they do?
You know, they pushed someone. They got, I don't know who called them, quote unquote, called them out for, you know, having Linda Sarsour take part in was on a call or something, and they were like, "Oh, of course we don't support her views on."
I don't even know who she is.
She's, you know, you probably will recognize her. She's a Palestinian American and activist who was a Bernie surrogate. She has like a very thick, like New York accent, like talks like that, like me, kind of. Well, stronger than mine, I think.
Oh wow, yeah, they really did. Like the Biden campaign did condemn her, like, outright. That's wild.
Oh, are you just looking it up? What have you found?
Yeah. It says Joe Biden has been a strong supporter of Israel and a vehement opponent of anti-Semitism his entire life, and he obviously condemns her views and opposes BDS, as does the Democratic platform. Biden spokesman Andrew Bates said, according to CNN's Jake Tapper. She has no role in the Biden campaign whatsoever.
These people are such assholes.
Yeah.
Then you get all,
Yeah, that's awesome. We strongly disassociate ourselves from and condemn and disavow.
Oh,
you know Linda Sarsour, like asking for like basic civil and human rights for Palestinians.
You know who was so good on this issue? I gotta give credit. He's like my fave. What's his name? Edward Isaac Dover. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do not.
No? Hold on. Edward Isaac. He's like he's the guy who went after David Sirota with a totally dishonest piece. Anyway, this is the important thing that I wanted to share with you guys. So ridiculous. Hold on. This guy is absolute trash. Remember that they went after David Sirota and it was like a very dishonest piece and it got all the timestamps wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, I do remember this.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just see. One of his brilliant tweets was he did a typical false equivalency tweet. His mom is this also terrible. Okay, he tweeted, Linda Sarsour, who has a history of anti-Israel statements, was on a DNC call yesterday and was then disavowed by the Biden campaign. Laura Loomer, who has a history of anti-Muslim statements, won a Florida GOP House primary yesterday and was then backed by Trump directly. As if those things are remotely, like, you know what I mean? Comparable? Hold on. Maybe I should share it with you guys so it makes some sense. Hold on.
Well, yeah, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, he's
it's not logical.
He's a bit. I mean, it makes sense if you're the bigot that he is. Hold on, let's see. Here it is. Linda Sarsour, who has a history of anti-Israel statements, was on a DNC call yesterday and was then disavowed by the Biden campaign. Laura Loomer has a history of anti-Israel statements. I make anti-Israel statements, and I'm proud to make them. Like, and I'm a Jew, and
Wait, you are? First time hearing about this.
I know. I mean, and people call me self-loathing, but like, come on, like Laura Loomer. I mean, this guy. I really can't stand this guy.
Yeah. I mean, anti-Israel means you don't think that that like the West Bank should be like occupied and brutalized. You know,
right?
Anti-Muslim means you're a racist.
Yeah, but right. Exactly. I mean, he doesn't even know how to, bless his heart, he knows that he can't totally say anti-Semitic, but he's trying to suggest that, right? Because like anti-Israel is like against the country, and obviously it's against the government of our country.
Yeah, and if you say anti-Israel is anti-Semitic, I mean the only
That's
way that
actually
works.
anti-Semitic.
Yeah, the only way that works logically, right, is if like the Israeli state, equals all Jews, which we would all recognize as anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic, if
you were putting like a negative on it instead of a positive.
Right. I mean, that's the big irony, right? Is that it's much more anti-Semitic to conflate those two things. Yeah, it's really gross. Yeah, and this is a guy who writes for The Atlantic now, I think. He was at Politico before. I mean, total anti-Bernie person, but just awful. He's so bad. His mom writes for Algeminer, some right-wing, like, Zionist publication. I keep wanting to write about that. I really should look into it.
And also, like, all right, if you actually want to accuse Linda Sarsour of being an anti-Semite, she's not, but if you want to make the accusation, like, own it, right? Don't just, like, use this, anti-Israel statements thing.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Kind of try to, like, insinuate it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like, find someone, then Laura Loomer, is she, like, anti-Saudi Arabia? Like, what's the...
Yeah. Right, like, that would be the equivalent if all they meant by Laura Loomer made anti-Muslim statements is that she was like, they should probably stop executing gay people in Saudi Arabia.
Right. Yeah. Okay, guys, sorry, we got to watch. Trigger alert, trigger warning.
Oh, my God.
And for managing crises, including the pandemic.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, we Democrats
she
would have
looks great
disagreed with
for
him
her.
on many things.
Yeah, she's full 007
but if he had
villain.
put his own interests and ego aside, seen the humanity in a child ripped from her parents at the border.
You said send them back.
Calling for justice.
Remember?
Or a family wiped out by natural disaster.
After seeing the humanity of a child ripped from
I wish
the
Donald
mother's
Trump
arms.
knew how to be a president. Because America needs a
send
president
them back
right
after
now.
supporting the coup in Honduras that caused a lot of the those kids to come in the first place.
Right. And after saying we have to send them a message, the parents of undocumented kids.
Yes, it still takes a village.
Christiane Amanpour, no one played that enough.
Equal to this moment.
How mad is she that she didn't just run?
We need Joe Biden.
Yeah.
She's like, I could be
Kamala
fucking
Harris.
Joe.
Everyone has a story about Joe's caring and empathy. And we talked about being raised by strong women. The best testament to Joe is
probably
how
some
he's
stories
cared
about that.
for his family. And how great is it that Dr. Jill Biden plans to keep teaching as First Lady?
She does seem nice,
And
Jill.
picked the right
Stockholm
partner in
syndrome.
Kamala. She's relentless in the pursuit of justice and equity, and she's kind.
Really?
When her press secretary, Tyrone Gale, was dying of cancer, she dropped everything to be with him in his final
But doesn't want
moments.
anyone else to have that medical.
I know something about the slings and arrows she'll
That's not
face.
the greatest
and believe
story.
me,
Honestly, she
former
dropped
district
everything
attorney
for him
and
to
attorney
die.
general can
I
handle
don't
them
think that's the
all.
greatest.
So the point of both that and the thing about Biden calling her is that these people are nice to people they actually know.
Right, who are very close
Without
to
us.
their proximity,
For
right?
4 years, people have told me. I didn't realize how dangerous he was.
It's like when
Wish I
people
could
are
go
racist, but they know
or
that
worse.
a black person who's not like that.
Yeah.
This
You know,
can't
it's like,
be another
they're nice because they know. Yeah.
election. If you vote by mail, request your ballot now and send it back right away.
I gotta say,
If you vote in person,
I mean, just
do
being
it
superficial,
early.
Bill Clinton
Become
looks
a poll
so
worker.
terrible.
Most of all, no
She
matter
looks
what,
healthy.
vote.
She looks like
As
she
Michelle
has
Obama
drains
and
him
Bernie
of his,
Sanders
youth
warned
and
us.
vitality and-
Oh my God,
Trump
she
is
probably.
reelected, things
Oh look, she's
will get
quite.
even worse.
Did she
That's
just
why we
quote
need
Bernie Sanders?
unity
Take his
now
name
more
out of
than
your
ever.
mouth.
Remember back in 2016 when Trump asked,
He was
"What
so
do you
good
have
for
to
her.
lose?"
Yeah, he has
Now
black
we know
voters now.
Our health care, our jobs, our loved ones.
You're right, Leslie. I think she
Our
set
leadership
up
in
an
the
IV
world
straight from
even
Bill to
our
her
post
own
office.
veins.
But
and
let's
took some
set
of
our
his
sights
blood.
higher than getting one man out of the White House. Joe
Did you get see
Biden
they got super
and Kamala
crazy and
Harris
changed the
are
camera
going to
angle for a
give us
second?
so much to vote for.
Yeah, I know. What was
Let's
that?
vote
Wow.
for the jobs that Joe's plan will create. Clean energy jobs to fight climate change.
So he's
We're
actually
giving
worse than
jobs
she is on
living
Medicare, right,
wages.
Biden? Because he wants
Vote for
to lower
emergency
the age
relief
to
that
what
lifts
is it?
small businesses.
60.
She was going to lower it to 50, and he says what, 55 or
How does that happen?
60 or
It's
something.
wrong that billionaires.
How does that
have
happen?
200
how is the takeaway from Donald Trump winning the presidency? I mean, okay, I get it. Like maybe the establishment isn't going to figure out like, oh, Trump riled up his base and he won the election, right? But at the very, very least, how is the takeaway like, oh, we need to do like literally the exact same thing that we did last time,
but worse,
if not maybe a little bit worse, right? Right.
I mean, with little help from the White House. Vote for paid family leave and health care for everyone, for Social Security.
But I gotta say, I find myself. Remember, Leslie, you and I were, I think I asked you this
Vote for law enforcement.
During a Patreon only interview or something. And I was like, isn't she kind of less annoying than Warren?
Vote for justice.
Hillary, like I kind of would rather spend. Okay, you know Warren, but but Warren is such a disappointment. Like we all know.
As far as public persona, I think I should do, like obviously politically Elizabeth Warren is better than Hillary Clinton, but like, as far as just like persona, yeah, I think Warren's more annoying than Hillary Clinton.
In last night's roll call,
I'll never forget.
Oh, there's another camera change.
Liz Holio
and Kamala
when she went like
win
that.
3 million votes.
Remember Big Structural Bailey?
Take it from me. Yes. So we need numbers overwhelming.
Also, I was driving to the like drive through CVS pharmacy today, and I turned on CNN for a minute, and they in the car, and somebody said, "Oh, Elizabeth Warren is going to be speaking," and nobody can talk about, nobody knows how to talk about this like progressive economic stuff the way that Elizabeth Warren can. And I think I almost like drove into like a street sign or something. I was so pissed off.
There you go. She has an effect without even being on the mic yet.
It's like
was unfinished. Tonight, I'm thinking.
Is she going to tell us about Stokely Carmichael also?
In America's future because of Kamala Harris, a Black woman, the daughter of Jamaican and Indian immigrants, and our nominee.
One second, I have to grab a charger. 1 second.
This is our country's story, breaking down barriers and expanding the circle of possibility. And to the young people watching, don't give up on America. Despite our flaws and problems, we've come so far. We can still be a more just, equal country with opportunities previous generations could never have imagined. There's a lot of heartbreak in America now. And the truth is, many things were broken before the pandemic. But as the saying goes, the world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places. That's Joe Biden. He knows how to keep going, unify, and lead, because he's done that for his family and country. So come November, if we're strong together, we'll heal together. We'll redeem the soul and the promise of our country, led by President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Tonight is a night steeped in women who have stepped into service and advocacy and who are using their power for good. The power of women is undeniable, whether it's in the office, in the home, or in the House of Representatives. It is my honor to introduce the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
I was never raised in a way that I would be running for public office. It didn't interest me. When I graduated from college, I got married, had 5 children in 6 years. So that was my life. When the children were grown, the opportunity to run for Congress came along.
She ran because another woman said, run. And she won, starting on a path that would make history. The first woman Speaker of the House.
For our daughters and our granddaughters, today we have broken the marble ceiling.
Why is that one marble, not glass?
I don't know.
I did feel a real responsibility to other women.
Man, remember
for those who went before.
Remember when Margaret Thatcher broke that marble
victory
ceiling?
stage that she had?
Winning and making her
Wait, what?
Speaker once again.
We didn't have
when Hillary Clinton on election night in November, that enormously expensive stage that she had built, that she never ended up having the opportunity to use. I just couldn't. I couldn't stop thinking, but that if she had spent the money in Pennsylvania or Wisconsin that she had spent building that stage, maybe she would have won.
Yeah, no question.
Awesome.
I also like that, like, she set that up, and Trump didn't even have a victory party because he was so sure he was going to lose.
Yeah. That was a interesting night, an interesting night to say the least.
But like literally, what they were just doing with Nancy Pelosi, it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. She was a woman. She was in this position of power. Like you could literally do that for Margaret Thatcher, like anybody, because it's just totally apolitical. It's like, you know, it's like here's a person who's a woman who's in this position.
Oh, Leslie, did I add you by accident?
Yeah.
Do you want me to unadd you?
Back in.
Okay.
Madam Speaker.
Oy vey. Let's see.
And now, please welcome Speaker of the United States
Speaker
House
of the
of
House,
Representatives,
it is my honor to
Nancy
bring you the greetings
Pelosi.
of House Democrats, the most diverse
Something was out of
majority in
sync there,
history.
right?
More than 60% women, people of color, and LGBTQ.
Look how different her hand
Our
colors
diversity
are
is our strength,
from her skin,
our
her face.
unity is our power. This month, as America marks the centennial of women, finally women winning
because of the
right
powder
to
she's
vote, we
wearing.
do so with 105 women in the House. Proudly, 90 are Democrats.
Nobody has the top makeup teams, which I'm nobody has
I know.
Is it true that she was going to do her speech in front of the refrigerators, but they wouldn't let her?
Really?
No, just joking.
I'm so gullible.
Stonewall.
I would have been good.
4 years ago, when President Obama and Vice President Biden were in the White House, they made us proud. And their leadership made our country
What do you
great.
think? I feel like if you
In
saw her
that
in person,
spirit,
she'd be
we
kind of
come together
intimidated.
now,
Not
to
intimidating, but
defy the
formidable.
darkness, but to light a way forward for our
The
country.
hands are scary, though. I'm just going to
That
say.
is the guiding purpose of House Democrats.
Her hands have
fighting
always scared
for
me.
the people. We have sent the Senate bills for lower health care costs, for bigger paychecks, for cleaner government, protecting John Lewis's voting rights, and enacting.
You know what her
George Floyd
hands
Justice
remind me
and
of? It's
Policing
like
Act. We
she's
sent
like
the Senate bills to protect
she has
our
the
dreamers, LGBTQ equality, to prevent gun violence. and to
she's not able to
preserve
totally
our
control
planet
them,
for
but she
future
also doesn't
generations.
go
And
let
even
them go
more.
freely like
All of
Bernie
this is
does.
possible for America.
So she's in this awkward
Who
middle
is standing
space.
in the way? Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Our nation faces the worst health and economic catastrophe
I
in
see
our
what you're
history.
saying. I
You know
wonder
what I
if
mean?
it's more
5 million
or
Americans
less.
are infected
Exactly.
by the coronavirus. Over 170,000.
The people who use their hands the best was Bernie, and then Michelle Obama seemed really sincere. And
How did she use it? I don't remember.
Is essential
Did she
to
do
safeguard
this or
lives,
she just I don't know. It just seemed heartfelt.
and who is standing
It
in the
didn't
way?
seem staged.
Mitch McConnell.
So at least
and
she,
Oh,
she
you know who
wasn't-
had the most stilted hand gestures? Did you guys watch Chuck Schumer's speech last night?
Oh no.
Every once in a while, he would do this.
Oh my god.
Like, and you could tell it said in the script on the prompter, like, do that thing with your hands. Like, oh my god, it was terrible.
Well, you know, he
Working
probably
families
though
and for
has
women in
was
particular.
born and raised
Disrespect
like Bernie
written
with a
into
lot of hand
policies
movement,
toward our
but he
health
had
and
to
our rights, not
try to
just
tone
his
it down.
Maybe so, but it just looked so extremely insincere, whatever it
Leslie knows
was.
what I'm talking about because he's read a lot of Philip Roth.
And so we are unleashing the power of women
Yeah.
to take our rightful place.
Wait
in
a
our
second.
national
Have you?
life by championing a
I've
woman's right
only
to choose
slightly.
and defending Roe v. Wade,
I started
securing
reading some
safe
Philip
and
Roth,
affordable
and I would
childcare,
message Katie
preserving
and
Social
ask her about
Security,
these
and
different
passing
things,
equal
and then
pay
just basically
for
say,
equal
"Wow,
work."
this is really racist. I hate
Who's
this."
standing in the way? Mitch McConnell and
I
Donald
don't
Trump.
Sorry, I got kind of excited there. Which do you remember which one you were reading?
It was the one with the short stories about the guy, the working class Jewish boy who meets this upper class.
Goodbye, Columbus.
Yes, goodbye.
Yeah, Goodbye Columbus
Faith
is
in God
good.
gives him the courage to
Yeah.
lead. Jill
It was
Biden.
enjoyable.
Like a
but-
novella, technically, the novella.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
novella.
Goodbye Columbus is a novella, but it's also the name of the collection that starts with that and has a bunch of short stories.
He has never.
Oh, that's
No,
right.
I'm actually,
He is fighting.
yeah, I love Philip Roth. I mean, I'm sure there are all kinds of good objections ideologically.
Yeah, no, it
but,
was wonderfully written. It was
Yeah.
To defend it.
I was specifically analyzing it from they wanted us to analyze it from like a
Our mission is to fight for
post-colonial
peace,
racial
the
perspective,
ideal
but they
of
only
our
wanted us to
founders,
focus
our hopes for our
on
children,
that
and the
novel, and I think
sacrifices of our
Dangling
veterans,
Land,
our brave
specifically
men and
from
women
like
in
the
uniform
Jewish perspective. I'm like,
and their
wait, there's
families.
these
We will
other
increase
elements of
our
identity in this novel that
Democrats
aren't as, you know.
The Human Stain. Did you read that, Ben? Did you read that, Leslie? Either of you?
No, but I read the Wikipedia several times. It's the wildest fucking story I've ever heard.
I read The Human Stain. Actually, I think maybe my favorite Roth books, or they called it the American Trilogy. There's Human Stain, American Pastoral, and I Marry Communist, which that last one is like a super, like, you know, I think like Human Stain was like big when it came out, and like American Pastoral is like a lot of people's favorite Roth, but I Married a Communist is like really good in like a underrated way. It's like basically his novel about how mad he was about McCarthyism and Nixon.
Since then, he
and the Human Stain kind of is like about cancel culture. When you think about it,
it is. Oh no, totally is. In fact, it's funny because I remember when I first read it, right? So, you know, for everybody who hasn't, like, it's about it's not what it's about, but like the opening incident is this professor getting into all this crazy controversy because he used the word spook to mean like ghosts, but like it was interpreted, you know, as a racist thing. And then, well, I'll go ahead and spoil a book that came out like 30 years ago. You know, then like it comes out later that he's actually like a light-skinned black man who's been passing as white for decades, whatever. But like, but I remember when I read that, thinking like, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. Like, it would take a lot more than that to get this controversy started. But then, like, I don't know, like I think.
Wait, guys, good. 1 second, sorry. You know, this is
shocked to find out how many people, including children, experience physical.
Is that Melania?
Oh, the Mariska Hargitay. Yes, from Law and Order, who actually did an episode. Law and Order did like a Human Stain episode where they had the guy committed murder because it was revealed that he was actually a light-skinned black man.
Sexual assault.
All right, nice. I was worried that we were going to go away from Human Stain there, but you took it right back. That's good.
Working to end the culture of sexual assault. I went from survivor to advocate.
As the president and CEO of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, I've seen Joe Biden's passionate leadership in passing the Violence Against Women Act. Now domestic violence rates are rising due to this pandemic.
Mariska Hargitay, also this daughter of Jane Mansfield,
and enhance that.
Oh,
and
okay.
I believe Hungarian boxer,
life is worth
Hargitay.
Joe Biden is that kind of leader.
I had a great Joyful Heart Foundation, right? Backlog.
And to change the way
Now, this is specifically now praising Joe Biden as an advocate for women.
For sexual violence.
For sexual violence against women, yes.
Yeah.
And bringing the TV detective who, hates violent men more than anything to kind of sell it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The most important thing you can say to a survivor is, I hear you. That's why I became a leader in It's on Us.
It's on Us, which, by the way,
President Biden to eliminate
there's poster child for It's on Us, which I don't think that should matter, but it is rich. It's the guy, what's his name? McCroll,
and we're just getting started.
Matt
I am voting for Joe
McCrory,
Biden on behalf
who
of
played the
all
prison guard in
innocent
Orange is the
survivors
New
of
Black.
domestic violence.
I'm voting for Joe Biden.
Leslie, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't watch Orange is the New Black.
Oh, Matthew McCrory, is that his name?
For my
Matt
daughter,
McGorry.
McGorry, yeah.
For my sons. For all of our children.
First episode was a slap to the
This
face.
is some hubris to do this, to have like the Joe Biden cares about women skit, especially since they could have just done it as Kamala Harris, right?
Right.
Like, they could have just said that, like, center all this around Kamala, especially since she was a prosecutor, would have fit in perfectly. It's really bizarre to center this on Joe's love of women and protection of women.
My husband stabbed me 13 times and broke my neck while the police were on the scene. I nearly died and I am permanently paralyzed.
Senator Joe Biden invited them to
That's the face?
Battered women need to be taken seriously. Proper police response can prevent what happened to me from happening to someone else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember how he treated Anita Hill?
Yep.
It's like it's a nice reminder. Just when you see him in front of a crying woman, usually he's causing the crime.
It's not a crime. In the home, it's a private matter. And so women were responsible for their own injuries.
I was about to say I know. I
And
don't
of course, this is,
I can only
it's
guess
providing cover for two things. One, his
how painful
behavior
that
towards women. Two,
Growing up,
the
father
crime
said
bill.
greatest
Because he's
Right.
trying to say, oh, the crime bill was good because it had the Violence Against Women Act.
Right.
Now, obviously, we needed this. I will show you a video about it.
In fact, yeah, in fact, that's why Bernie voted for it, because the Violence Against Women's Act.
Be a person of
Sorry, I have to
character.
turn on my thing and then turn it off again because my
If you see something wrong, we were then expected to stand up and do something about it. When Joe introduced the legislation, few believed
Wow, they made a whole fucking
Bill is an
documentary
ambitious
about
undertaking.
this.
It is
This
the
is
first
dark.
attempt to
This
address
is dark
violent
as
crimes
hell.
against women.
It was hard to get the votes because you had some traditionalists who just didn't believe.
So is the Republican convention? Are they doing a live convention, or are they doing theirs?
Joe
like
persevered
like
and
this
he's very
too, or
good
anyone know?
persuasion.
I kind of really hope they do an in-person one because it would make
He brought
sense.
together law
I mean,
enforcement, prosecutors,
based on their rhetoric, like
and survivors.
like don't be a
Thank
chump.
you
Go
for
out there and have
giving
your
me the
live
opportunity to come and
convention.
Yeah.
In 1994, the Violence Against Women Act became
No
law
mask allowed.
and protected millions of American women.
A lot of the change in the attitudes we have about domestic violence were shaped by his leadership on this.
If you see something wrong, we were then expected to stand up and do something about it.
If you're just joining us, welcome. Coming up, we're going to hear from President Barack Obama and Senator Kamala Harris, who will talk about the Biden-Harris vision for the future. But in order to get to that more perfect union, we have to acknowledge where we are. Today in America, we are struggling. Unemployment has skyrocketed and families are fighting to keep their jobs. As Joe Biden says, we need to build back better. To find out how you can join that effort, please text JOIN to 30330 to get plugged into this.
I didn't know that was a Joe Biden catchphrase. I heard Bill Clinton say that at the end of his speech, and I thought it was kind of hokey.
Plan to help working
Build
families.
back better.
Oh yeah,
that's not a good one.
Hilda Solis worked alongside him.
That's
as
how long has Biden
make
been
sure
using
there are
that?
Good American jobs and that
Just
Americans
not that
are
long.
safe on the job.
It's
To
so
hear
bad
more
though.
about
Yeah, I don't think it's
Biden-
going to last very long either.
Really bad.
Please welcome Hilda Solis.
Hello, I'm Hilda Solis. The day Vice President Biden swore me in as Secretary of Labor was one of the proudest moments of my life. My parents realized they'd achieved their American dream because the daughter of two blue-collar immigrants would make history and give voice to people just like them. American workers need a fighter now more than ever, and Joe Biden is that person because he has done it before.
She has
and
a
I've seen
sister, I
it
think, right?
firsthand. He and President Obama made it easier for home care workers to organize. They extended overtime pay to more than 4 million workers. They saved the automobile industry and a whole lot of good union jobs with it.
Lots
And
of
when
past
millions
tense.
of families lost their
Mhm.
homes, my friend from California, Senator Kamala Harris, took on the big bang.
Just occurred to me, has there been one mention of the Obama administration getting Osama bin Laden?
Rescue a sinking economy.
The only reason I think of that is I remember that Obama's main, the crux of his argument for re-election was that, what was it, like GM is alive and Osama bin Laden is dead. And as much as Biden's been,
That's why Joe
leaning on his
Biden
record,
Kamala
I'm
Harris actually have a plan.
surprised they
not
haven't
only to
talked about
recover
that.
what we lost, but to improve upon it, to build back
Well, the
better.
guy who claims he
Creating
killed
5
Osama bin
million
Laden
good union
is like
jobs by
having
bringing back
is
supply
on one
chains
on
to
Twitter
America.
today
That's
about
building
the
back
mask
better.
and COVID. He's like a far
Creating
right guy.
millions
So
of
it would
jobs
be
by
really nice
investing
if
in
they
clean energy.
brought him on to the
That's
DNC
building
stage.
back better.
If
And
they
making
like
sure
having
that
other
working
Republicans
families
there, why not
can
him?
afford childcare. That's how we build back better. So let me borrow and slightly edit
Build back
something
better
Joe
is such a
Biden
weird
said
slogan.
at my swearing.
It reminds me of, oh, my
When it
baby
comes
back,
to
baby back,
expanding
baby
the
back, baby
economy
back,
for
baby
all
back, baby
people,
back,
no
ribs.
one
And
was
I mean,
going to be
they shouldn't
stronger
have. You
or
shouldn't have a slogan unless it's really, really good, right? You don't need a slogan. Yes, you need a theme, like you need a main point that you can boil down to a sentence or two. But you don't need a slogan, especially if it's build back better.
As long as it doesn't convey anything special, like Trump could use that slogan. Like it's nothing specific about Joe. Every politician wants to build stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's like extremely vague, and it's also like, I don't know, it just feels so fake. Like it's like you know, like you can like sort of feel the like focus group.
Focus groups, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm so distracted by the alliteration of it. I mean, alliteration can be used well, but I mean, I literally don't know what it means. What does it mean?
It suggests Build-A-Bear.
Is that right? Okay.
I mean, to me it does. Build-A-Bear.
Build-A-Bear?
A little bit like, it's almost like Make America Great Again. I feel like it's, I mean, it's signaling to that.
But
it's
that
like
was
a much more like clunky kind of like
exactly, without
corporate
the
PR
elegance.
kind of version of Make America Great Again.
Right. It's a woke technocratic.
Yeah, because it seems like you could feel like, some meeting where there were like one consultant said like, oh, we need to talk about like going back to normal, like building back. That's what people want. And then another consultant said, no. But don't just say build back, say build back better, right? So like it's like progressive and like forward.
Better than what? Oh, it's so bad. It's so terrible. I don't know. I can't even.
Somebody in the chat suggests build WAP better.
When I ran for Congress, we would get on these calls with, they tell you need to hire your team early on of people that are going to do your direct mail and your TV ads and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, some of them are super nice guys and that kind of stuff, but you get on the phone with them and they start throwing out ideas like build back better and a lot of ideas that are even worse than that. And you just start thinking, oh my God, and these were some of the, best people in the Democratic electoral, strategy rooms, but I don't know. I was never a big fan myself. I felt like every time that I did the opposite of what the consultants were recommending, it was a huge boost to my campaign.
It was really hard for restaurants to begin. It would be crowded in here with babies and families and crowds outside waiting to get in. It was pretty
And the one really educational moment was, we did a little bit of polling and working with the pollster, and they send us, and you have to pay, your campaign pays like $15,000, whatever it is. They're going to do this whole poll for you and write it and put it in the field. And the questions were the most ridiculous questions. I mean, they might as well have been like, are you for good things? Are you against bad things? Do you think that people should be healthy, right? That kind of stuff. And then they were like, and I mean, I didn't let them put that in the field because I thought it was completely ridiculous, not to mention a waste of money. And what I did was I rewrote the whole thing myself to try to test different arguments as far as why, for instance, Medicare for all is a good thing, why $15 minimum wage is a good thing, to see which arguments the people found to be most compelling of a bunch of truthful arguments. And I thought that was a much better way to do the polling. And it kind of blew the minds of the consultants, but at the end they were like, wow, yeah, that was a really good idea to do it that way, that kind of thing. And it's like, but I think one of the reasons that we see so many platitudes and so much nothingness in these conventions and in these campaigns is because they think that if something polls well, then it'll get a lot of support, right? But if it's just a bunch of saying nothing, it's not going to build support for you, even if it's not a controversial thing to say. By the way, I just saw a symbol for my alma mater, Iowa State, on there, so that must have been an Iowa.
Joe Biden has an understanding.
It's so sad because I get that these people really hate Trump. Like, I really hate Trump too. You know who I have no sympathy for and who's canceled? Every celebrity or famous person who stayed out of the primary and is all of a sudden involved in the general. And I'm talking to you, Bruce Springsteen, and this is awkward, but I gotta say it. I'm sorry, Angela Davis. Where were you? Now, to be fair, I'm not sure Angela Davis would have cast the decisive, would have been the decisive Oh, okay, here we go.
We've heard from people who make America work. People who put their lives on the line to keep our country going. And since COVID-19 hit, they've taken one gut punch after another. And what has the COVID fallout done to our babies? Well, I'm here at the Early Childhood Education Center in Springfield, Massachusetts.
She loves saying babies.
Babies and mamas.
Childcare was already hard to find before the pandemic, and now parents are stuck. No idea when schools can safely reopen, and even fewer childcare options. The devastation is enormous. And the way I see it, big problems demand big solutions. Now, I love a good plan. And Joe Biden has some really good plans. Plans to bring back union jobs in manufacturing and create new union jobs in clean energy. Plan to increase Social Security benefits, cancel billions in student loan debt, and make our bankruptcy laws work for families instead of the creditors who cheat them. These plans reflect a central truth. Our economic system has been rigged to give bailouts to billionaires and kick dirt in the face of everyone else. But we can build a thriving economy by investing in families and fixing what's broken. Joe's plan to build back better includes making the wealthy pay their fair share, holding corporations accountable, repairing racial inequities, and fighting corruption in Washington. Let me tell you about one of Joe's plans that's especially close to my heart.
Is it bankruptcy? Oh.
As a little girl growing up in Oklahoma, what I wanted most in the world was
how awesome it was when she never once brought up the bankruptcy bill in the entire primary.
My first big teaching job down in Texas.
How big of a mistake was it to not endorse Bernie in 2016?
Childcare. One night, my Aunt B called just to check in.
Aunt B is the one with the high cheekbones.
I was fine.
Remember?
But then I just broke down and started to cry. I had tried holding it all together, but without reliable childcare, working was nearly impossible. And when I told Aunt B I was going to quit my job, I thought my heart would break. And then she said the words that changed my life. I can't get there tomorrow, but I'll come on Thursday. And she arrived with 7 suitcases and a Pekingese named Buddy and stayed for 16 years.
I'm trying to show this comment.
I get to be here tonight because of my Aunt B.
Leslie, look.
I learned a fundamental
truth.
He left. Nobody makes it on their own. And yet, here we are, 2 generations of working parents later. And if you have a baby and don't have an Aunt B, you're on your own. And here's why that is wrong. We build infrastructure like roads and bridges and communication systems so that people can work. That infrastructure helps us all.
If she had run against Hillary, when Bernie was saying that if she would have run, he wouldn't have, she would actually be president right now.
You think?
It's infrastructure
I do.
for families.
I mean, all she would have had to do is be a little bit better than Hillary was, right?
Yeah. Affordable for everyone. Make preschool.
Yeah, I don't know if she would have won the primary, but I mean, if she had, I'm sure she would have been elected.
Now, that's just one plan, but it gives you an idea of how we get this country working for everyone.
I mean, just because, like, literally, I think
ignorance and
I think anybody would have gotten elected in 2016 who, like, just basically didn't have the, like, hubris to be like, oh, well, the algorithm says we don't need to campaign in Michigan, so we won't.
Today, America has the most COVID deaths in the world and an economic.
It just seems to me that almost everyone that supported Bernie would have supported her.
focused on
maybe not as
blacks,
fervently, and then she also would have drawn,
millions
you know, a decent amount of the people that were voting for Hillary because they wanted the first woman president.
homes, millions of restaurants and stores hanging
And
by a thread.
also because she's not Trump.
This crisis is bad, and it didn't have to be this way. This crisis is on.
Remember, she was so
Donald
great,
Trump
and how
the
long ago was it when
Republicans
she
who enabled him? On
talked
November
about
3rd, we will hold them all accountable. So, whether
Hillary
you're planning to
Clinton
vote,
being
wear
different
the
as a
mask
first
or
lady than
vote
she
by
was as a
mail,
senator
please
on
take out
Bill
your
Moyers.
phone right now and text.
She said Hillary Clinton was like the sharpest student I've ever had. She explained some bankruptcy thing. It was about.
Oh yeah.
And then
that's
Hillary went back
right.
and like lobbied Bill to vote against or for something. I remember.
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean, you know, I mean, I used to really, really like Elizabeth Warren a lot, and frankly, even during the presidential campaign at the time, I had no problem with her until that day that she did that like terrible, low, sleazy attack on Bernie that her campaign did. That was just
saying
that was like unforgivable.
A woman couldn't
honestly.
win. Yeah, I agree. It was
That was
unforgivable.
bad. I mean, I thought it was also pretty bad when she like started doing this like weird triangulating away from clearly advocating Medicare for all.
Joe Biden to be his vice president
Uh-oh,
was one of
here
the
we go.
best decisions he ever made. And this is a man who has made a lot of good decisions, making healthcare more affordable and accessible, rescuing our economy, protecting American jobs, marrying Michelle Obama. And through it all, Joe Biden was by his side, except for maybe marrying Michelle. You can witness their mutual respect and affection in this clip. Take a look.
So, Joe, for your faith in your fellow Americans, for your love of country, and for your lifetime of service that will endure through the generations, I'd like to ask the military aide to join us on stage. For the final time as president, I am pleased to award our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And for the first and only time in my presidency, I will bestow this medal with an additional level of veneration, an honor my three most recent successors reserved for only three others: Pope John Paul II, President Ronald Reagan, and General Colin Powell. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to award the Presidential
That's a nice club to be in.
with distinction to my brother, Joseph Robinette Biden.
Robinette? I think I didn't know that.
Will the aide please read the citation?
Vice President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. In a career of public service spanning nearly half a century, Vice President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. has left his mark on almost every part of our nation, fighting for a stronger middle class, a fairer judicial system, and a smarter foreign policy, providing unyielding support for our troops, combating crime and violence against women, leading our quest to cure cancer, and safeguarding the landmark American Recovery and Reinvestment Act from corruption. With his charm, candor, unabashed optimism, and deep and abiding patriotism, Joe Biden has garnered the respect and esteem of colleagues of both parties, and the friendship of people across the nation and around the world, while summoning the strength, faith, and grace to overcome great personal tragedy. This son of Scranton, Claymont, and Wilmington has become one of the most consequential vice presidents in American history, an accolade that nonetheless rests firmly behind his legacy as husband, father, and grandfather. A grateful nation thanks Vice President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. for his lifetime of service on behalf of the United States of America.
Why do I feel like I'm watching C-SPAN?
Yeah, what's going on?
Oh wait, we literally are.
Good evening, everybody. As you've seen by now, this isn't a normal convention. It's not a normal time. So tonight, I want to talk as plainly as I can about the stakes in this election. Because what we do these next 76 days will echo through generations to come. I'm in Philadelphia, where our Constitution was drafted and signed. It wasn't a perfect document. It allowed for the inhumanity of slavery and failed to guarantee women, and even men who didn't own property, the right to participate in the political process. But embedded in this document was a North Star that would guide future generations. A system of representative government, a democracy, through which we could better realize our highest ideals. Through civil war.
I was at the DNC. What was it in
this Constitution?
In
2004.
Voices of those
no,
who once been
him, his
2008.
Yeah,
Denver.
in Denver.
Country more just.
I was so moved by Michelle Obama's speech, and
more free.
No, I mean she gave an effective speech. I thought the other day, but it was pretty.
All of the people.
I mean, the best thing about what she said was that it was a harm reduction argument.
Expect a president to feel a sense of
she said,
responsibility.
It could get worse. It will get worse.
Of all 330 million of us, regardless of what we look like, how we worship, who we love, how much money we have, or who we voted for. But we should also expect a president to be the custodian of this democracy. We should expect that regardless of ego, ambition, or political beliefs, the president will preserve, protect, and defend the freedoms and ideals that so many Americans marched for, went to jail for, fought for, and died for. I have sat in the Oval Office with both of the men who are running for president. I never expected that my successor would embrace my vision or continue my policies. I did hope, for the sake of our country, that Donald Trump might show some interest in taking the job seriously. That he might come to feel the weight of the office and discover some reverence for the democracy.
Do you think he really thought that?
I don't know. What do you think?
But he never did.
I think Obama's too smart to think that.
Yeah.
No interest in putting in the work. No interest in finding common ground. No interest in using the awesome power of his office to help anyone but himself and his friends. No interest in treating the presidency as anything but one more reality show that he can use to get the attention he craves. Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe. 170,000 Americans dead. Millions of jobs gone, while those at the top take in more than ever. Our worst impulses unleashed, our proud reputation around the world badly diminished, and our democratic institutions threatened like never before. Now, I know that in times as polarized as these, most of you have already made up your mind. But maybe you're still not sure which candidate you'll vote for, or whether you'll vote at all. Maybe you're tired of the direction we're headed, but you can't see a better path yet, or you just don't know enough about the person who wants to lead us there. So let me tell you about my friend, Joe Biden. 12 years ago, when I began my search for a vice president, I didn't know I'd end up finding a brother. Joe and I come from different places, different generations, but what I quickly came to admire about Joe Biden is his resilience, born of too much struggle.
Why do you think Obama didn't endorse Biden during the primary?
Because he didn't think he'd win.
Joe's a man who learned.
Yeah, I think there must have been some major problem, right?
I just assumed he didn't think he'd win, right?
But then he did help him seal the deal at the end, right? By calling.
Well, once it was him and
But you're better than nobody.
Yeah, when it was him and Bernie, he did. But I remember there were some times in the primary where it seemed like, if anything, like he was kind of sending some signals.
Yeah, didn't he say you don't have? There was a rumor he said like you don't have to do this or something, right?
Right. And I don't know that was ever even denied.
Yeah, I remember that. I also remember him making some like public statements during the primary about how like women make better leaders and stuff like that. That like kind of seemed like he might be trying to put a thumb on the scale for one of the other candidates.
Right, for Warren or
certainly not Warren. I don't think he was probably
Kamala then. Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. There were like several at one point.
Probably Kamala or
who've lost their hero.
I guess Klobuchar. Oh, I guess depending when. But I feel like Kamala is the closest to him politically, probably, right?
Somebody whose
I guess what's her name too?
Hardest loss there is.
Gillibrand, kind of.
Oh yeah.
Joe was the last one in the room. Whenever
I mean, Klobuchar was the saddest one. Like she was endorsed by the New York Times. She got like 2% of the vote.
Got the character and the experience to make us a better country.
The saddest or the luckiest in some ways.
My friend
Kamala Harris had so on paper and everything had so much going for it, had so much opportunity to win that primary at the beginning, and ran such a terrible campaign. It honestly, before this year and probably even counting this year, Joe Biden had always just run such terrible campaigns. How many times has he run for president? And then he got 5th place in Iowa.
Into reality.
And now he's running just the most boring campaign. He's not doing anything. He's not trying.
He's sleeping through it.
You know, like at least Hillary Clinton, you always felt like she was trying, right? Like, I thought she was making the wrong arguments. I thought she obviously should have been progressive, and she wasn't, one thing after another. But she always, at the very, very least, was trying really hard.
They'll rescue the economy, like Joe helped me do after the Great Recession. I asked him to manage the Recovery Act, which jump-started the longest stretch of job growth in history. And he sees this moment now, not as a chance to get back to where we were, but to make long overdue changes so that our economy actually makes life a little easier for everybody. Whether it's the waitress trying to raise a kid on her own, or the shift worker always on the edge of getting laid off, or the student figuring out how to pay for next semester's classes.
Man, remember how much the Obama administration did to help all three of those categories?
What were they again? Students?
Yeah, it was the waitress trying to make the ends meet, and the like students with student loans, and there was one of their he just name checked, but it's like, what is this? Like you know, like you were trying to put through the TPP.
That was really one of the most shameful moments ever.
And mobilize others to overcome threats like climate change and terrorism, poverty and disease. But more than anything, what I know about Joe, what I know about Kamala.
What did someone say the other day? Not Joe meant him, like Joe, let's do it. What was that?
They care deeply.
Let's go, Joe, maybe? I don't know. Did you see they tried the Joe knows? On day one, they did like the Joe knows riff, kind of like, I mean, that was, oh God, that was.
Not harder. They believe that no one, including the president, is above the law, and that no public official, including the president, should use their office to enrich themselves or their supporters. They understand that in this democracy, the commander-in-chief does not use the men and women of our military who are willing to risk everything to protect our nation as political props to deploy against peaceful protesters on our own soil. They understand that political opponents aren't un-American just because they disagree with you. The free press isn't the enemy, but the way we hold officials accountable.
I saw a poll the other day. They asked Democrats, "Who do you want to see speak at the convention?" And Obama got a higher percentage than Biden.
Kelly, by the way, her theory is that Obama wants a sneak attack at the end and get Biden nomination. That's why he didn't endorse.
Democratic principles. They are American principles.
He wanted to what?
Sneak attack. Like if he had obviously put his thumb on the scales,
have shown they don't believe in these things.
Yeah.
Tonight, I'm asking you to believe.
He's so political. He probably thought that like
ability to lead this country.
I bet he was either way.
Times and build it back better.
He was like, if I want to endorse, I can do it, and it won't be obvious. But I also want to hedge my bets.
This country alone.
Yeah, I mean, I can also see that he might have worried that like if he'd endorsed it, then Biden hadn't gotten it, it would have like really taken away from his like.
Oh yeah, no, that's totally what I think. What I think in terms of why he didn't.
I'm also asking you to.
He's like a total legacy egomaniac.
To embrace your
like that's why I don't understand why he. I mean, I do and don't understand why he took the DNC chairmanship away from Ellison and gave it to Skeletor.
Right now. Yeah. Our democracy.
You know, it's like, why? He just couldn't stand the symbolism of a Bernie person taking over the party.
A lot of Americans are down on government.
It's so terrible.
The way the rules have been set up and abused in Congress make it easier for special interests to stop progress than to make progress. Believe me, I know it. I understand why.
You know, so the racism, the anti-Obama racism was so good at like
might feel like
inoculating him.
No longer looks out for him, and why a black mom might feel like it never looked out for her at all.
I mean, with me.
I understand why a new immigrant might look around this country and wonder whether there's still a place for him here.
He looks good, gray hair though.
Why a young person might look at politics right now. The circus of it all, the meanness.
Remember when he started the transition from like he stopped dyeing his hair, which I think he publicly admitted to, but it was
he
just
dyed
so
his
funny.
hair? I didn't know that. I thought he just grayed out. No,
I honestly can't remember. I thought that he had said that he
those in power.
Or yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he just allowed it to go natural, but
they're counting on your cynicism.
But it looked really bad there for like a year.
No, they can't win you over with.
Well, Howard Feynman, remember his?
So they're
what happened to him?
Make it as hard as possible for you to vote and to convince you that your vote does not matter. That is how they win. That is how they.
Isn't it amazing, though? I mean, that our country went from
and the lives of the people
Barack Obama being president to Donald Trump being president. I mean, there are not
getting skewed to the wealthy.
Two people that could be more diatomically opposed,
diametrically opposed. Yeah.
Through the cracks.
Yeah.
That's how.
Right. The extremely like calm, measured.
You cannot let that happen.
Like just very
let them take away your
very chill, very performatively classy, kind of like Obama.
Yeah, like literally a professor.
It's literally a law professor versus like the guy who just does stream of consciousness rants and eats McDonald's on camera. And
what Americans have done for over 2 centuries when faced with even tougher times than
he and Hillary pushed the birther thing, basically.
All those quiet heroes who found the courage to keep marching.
Oh yeah, big time. I was on Obama's campaign in 2008 when all those emails started coming, like early on in the Iowa caucus, and all of these like random Iowa activists were constantly getting them, and you knew like it wasn't the Republicans. Why would they be doing that early on in a primary?
Leaders.
You know what pushed me
and even internally on the Obama campaign, like on the conference calls, they were saying that it was Hillary's campaign that was doing it. Absolutely.
And see a president who looked like his grandson.
What was the thing that pushed me from, because I didn't really like either of them. I didn't like Obama's like,
and it turned out that on the very day
purple, red, blue. We're not red, blue, or purple. Not because I don't think that that's a good thing to be post-partisan, but because for him it's always felt like it was just meeting in the middle as opposed to like just being a people's, But
echoes through generations.
What percentage of the U.S. population is dumb enough to believe this? Answers,
Whatever our
please.
backgrounds,
High
we
percentage?
are all the children of Americans.
I mean,
who
are you
fought the good
British?
fight.
Because
Great grandparents.
what percentage believed? Well, I
sweatshops
guess
without
what's
rights
Boris?
or representation.
What's Boris? Not Boris Yeltsin. Boris
Farmers
Johnson is not. I
losing their
guess
dreams to
he's
dust.
more Trumpian than Obama in. So I don't know
Irish
who
and
their
Italians,
equivalent
and
is.
Asians and Latinos told, go back where you come from. Jews and Catholics.
I have to plug in my laptop before
Okay.
it dies here. Just a
Still
second.
suspect for the way they worshipped.
What were we just saying? Remind
Black
me.
America.
Oh, the reason I started. Well, I want Brent to be in here because
hanged.
he's an insider. Oh, wait.
Spit on for trying to sit at lunch counters. Beaten for trying to vote. If anyone had a right to believe that this democracy did not work and could not work, it was those Americans, our ancestors. They were on
Yes,
the
salami
receiving end
mommy,
of a
red faced,
democracy that had
and
fallen
both
short
very
all
red
their
faced, both
lives.
Borises.
They knew
Right.
how far the daily reality of America strayed from the myth. And yet, instead
Brent,
of
I was
giving
saying
up,
that
they joined together.
the thing that made me go
And they
from,
said,
because I didn't really like
"Somehow,
either one,
some
Hillary
way,
or
we are
Barack
going to
Obama.
make this work."
And then the thing that made me go for Obama was when
We are
Hillary went
going
after
to
him for
bring
the
those words
pastor,
in our
Jeremiah Wright.
founding documents.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was just like, yeah.
Well, that was actually a lot. It's weird how much people have forgotten
I
that
have
in
seen that same
2008,
rising
like
these past
Hillary
years.
was the one doing like a lot of the stuff
Every
Trump did
age and
later, like all
background,
that kind of
packed
like,
city centers and
you know,
airports,
pseudo
Dog whistling?
populist, like
roads, so that
racial dog
families
whistling, you
wouldn't
know,
Yeah.
that, like,
separated,
back when she was like,
so that another
you know, doing
classroom
shots in the
wouldn't get
back
shot
of
up.
trucks and saying things like, you know, my base is
Kids won't
hardworking
grow
white
up
people.
on an
Yeah.
uninhabitable
Yeah, our
planet.
numbers are going up among the white working class. And then Bill Clinton said something
Americans
about
of
those
all
people,
races
people
joining
like
together
this.
to declare,
And then, of course, she famously
in
said
the
she wasn't
face
going to
of
drop out
injustice
because
Because he might be assassinated.
and
Yeah.
brutality,
it was
Oh.
so amazing because you can tell that
that
Bill
Black
Clinton
Lives Matter.
coaches her and never accounts for
more,
how bad
but
she
no
is at
less.
lying. Like he's a fairly skilled
So
liar.
that no child
So
in
he
this
clearly
country
told
feels the
her,
continuing sting of racism.
you know, and so she's like, they're like, you don't buy party unity? She's like, no, I don't. Why not? Well,
To the young
because
people who led us
my
this
husband
summer,
didn't
telling
drop
us we need
out
to be
until
better.
June. And June, we all remember what happened in June. Bobby
In
Kennedy
so
was
many ways,
assassinated.
you
And it was
are
like,
this country's dreams
that's
fulfilled.
the synapse that happened.
Well, do you remember
Americans
Bill
had to be
Clinton went
persuaded.
into South Carolina
Everyone
right before the primary and said,
people
"Oh well,
Jesse,
yeah, Barack will probably win it because Jesse Jackson
Yeah.
won it." And it's like, whoa.
I think it was after he won it. Maybe he said
need to
that
know
he like compared it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, same
all
thing.
its
Yeah,
messiness
and in fact, it was that he
and
said that,
frustration.
and then was asked
Your
about that
system of self
if he regretted saying that, and he said on the radio,
be harnessed to
"No, I think the
help
Obama campaign
you
is playing the
realize
race card."
those
Then was asked
convictions
about what he meant when he said playing the
for
race
all
card.
of
He
us.
said, "When did I say that? And to whom did I say that?" And it's on fucking
You
video,
can
on
give
radio. I
our
mean,
democracy new meaning.
and that's what lost him a lot of. Actually,
You
the
can
lost
take it
Clinton's
to
a
a
lot of
better
support
place.
was that and the RFK thing.
Well, and his brand was that he was, you know,
Once
beloved in the
we're
black
fired,
community.
America becomes
And he played
a
saxophone
country that
on
fully
Arsenio Hall.
lives up to its
Never
name.
forget. And then Toni
That
Morrison
work will
declared him the
continue long
first
after this election.
black president.
But any chance of success depends entirely on the outcome of this election. This administration has shown it will tear our democracy down if that's what it takes for them to win. So we have to get busy building it up by pouring all
It is
our-
amazing. It is amazing.
Building it up better, right?
and by
He gave Joe Biden the congressional or the American Medal of Freedom or whatever it is, and didn't even endorse him in the primary.
That is kind of amazing.
this country that we love
That is really good.
stands for.
Well, he's such a treasure.
And for
Yeah.
He's
all
such a
of
courageous treasure. He didn't want him to.
It was just so blatant. And then remember, after a long time where it was super awkward, then Biden had to start saying like, "Oh well, I never asked him for his endorsement."
Right.
Yeah, right. Come on. It's like, well, dude, hey, I have an idea for you then. Maybe you should ask him. You know, like
Joe Biden.
Wait a
has turned
second.
An extraudinary
Apparently,
woman
there was
to be his
BLM
running mate.
spelled out
Kamala
in
Harris
kids blocks
is a
and Senate
fighter and a trailblazer.
Senator Warren's black. Is that real? Where? I don't see it.
Families and keep
Oh
them
my God, I do
together
see it.
by reducing recidivism.
Oh my God.
I am so
You guys.
thrilled for her to become the Vice President of the United States. Now,
Oh
please
God.
welcome our convention chair, Congressman.
Uh-oh, what is it? What is that background? That's really creepy looking background, isn't it?
Yeah, what happened to the volume?
That the presidential candidate
Oh, okay. Oh, is that going to be the background for Kamala?
automatic
What's this guy? Is this guy Saunders? Is that his name?
Democratic candidate.
That's
I don't know who he
Saunders.
is.
In accordance with our rules, Vice President Biden has nominated Senator Kamala Harris as his vice presidential candidate. Our rules further provide that if only one candidate is nominated for vice president, the chair is authorized to declare the nominee the Democratic candidate for vice president. As such, with only one nomination received and pursuant to our rules, I hereby declare that Kamala
What about
Harris
me?
is elected.
Yeah, okay. What are they talking about?
I would have nominated myself or someone else.
Yeah.
What's up with that weird gavel thing?
I'm pleased to report
The last
that
time he
Vice
did that, it was scary
Presidential
music.
Candidate Kamala Harris has been invited to deliver an acceptance speech.
Kamala Harris is my auntie.
My stepmom.
My big sister.
Oh, is that
which means
Maya?
you'll always be my older sister.
And there are some things we'd like to share with you.
That's her
To my
niece?
brother and me, you'll always be Mamala, the world's greatest stepmom.
You're my role model who taught me I could do and be.
Wait, are these really are her kids? I
my
guess.
very first friend,
Step.
my confidant, my
It's the
partner in
sister,
mischief
auntie, and
and
step
injustice.
mom. So she must be.
You're a
That must be the daughter of her
Not
husband.
just for our dad.
Oh, I thought they were being like hyperbolic.
Generations of our big blended family.
Oh yeah.
You showed me the importance of public service.
It's
and made
weird.
sure
I
grew
know
up surrounded
nothing
by
about her
smart,
husband. He's never in
strong,
the spotlight.
ambitious women every day. Growing up, heaven help the poor kid who picked on me, because my big sister would be there in a flash, ready to have my back.
Oh my God, that's an amazing
now,
photo. Actually,
we've got your back.
that makes me want to
As you
vote
and
for
Joe
her
fight to protect our democracy.
more than anything
There's
I've
no
seen.
union more perfect than the one that brings us all to your kitchen table every Sunday night for stir fry, feta chicken,
What was it? I missed it.
and meatball family dinners.
We'll have to show
And
you.
now that
It's
I'm
them
a
ba-
mom,
her and
you're
the
showing
sisters
my
back to back.
daughters and so
Oh.
many girls around the world who look like them what's possible and what it's like to move through the world as fierce, formidable, phenomenal women in their own unique way. I love you. I admire you. I am so proud of you. And even though mommy's not here to see her first daughter step into history, the entire nation will see in your strength, your integrity, your intelligence, and your optimism the values that she raised us with.
We love you, Mamala.
We're so proud of you, Auntie.
You mean the world to us, Kamala.
And we could not be more excited
To share you with the world as the next
Vice President.
Vice President of the United States.
Joe Biden has selected Kamala Harris as his running mate.
She is the first Black woman, first South Asian woman to be named on the Democratic ticket.
This is an historic
Someone who looks like us on a presidential ticket. That's crazy.
Kamala Harris is us. She was born in Oakland.
The daughter of immigrants.
Our next guest, our final
Daughter
guest,
of
is joining
Shonda.
us. Malaika Jabali. There it is. There's that photo.
She
Hi, Malaika.
Okay.
Malaika Jabali, journalist, filmmaker. Welcome.
Hello.
She's a hard. Hi, we're just watching the rest of the final.
She's brilliant.
10
she's
minutes.
Smart. She's tough. She's got a
Perfect for
good
you to
future.
come be with us because
But it'll be more than 10 minutes, I'm
you
sure.
get
I
to
mean,
save yourself from. Oh, she's very cute, that little girl. You get to not have to watch most of it.
When she says for the people, it is in every attitude. She is. She's for us. She's for us.
She fights for women's rights. She fights to end mass incarceration.
How?
She is a fearless advocate for the voiceless. The
Yeah. Was she fighting to end mass incarceration when she was
What'd
attorney
you say?
general? Was she fighting to end mass
Oh
incarceration?
yeah, we've been talking
when she was
over most of
attorney
it.
general? I mean, Jesus.
But when she starts talking, we can listen and then talk after.
of America. It's about all of us knowing our power.
But yeah, we've been.
To lift people up, right? And to remind them that we see them and we hear them and that they
Oh, there we go. Thank you for seeing me.
You feel seen?
I feel so seen. I did not see myself at all in the mirror today. I needed Kamala to tell me that.
You guys have all seen the jails, build more schools video, right? Have you guys seen that?
Oh, yeah.
So painful.
Yeah, I'd like to know if this fight to stop mass incarceration was already going on when she was making fun of people who said, build more schools, less jails.
The United States.
Okay.
Greetings, America. It is truly an honor to be speaking with you tonight. That I am here tonight is a testament to the dedication of generations before me. Women and men who believed so fiercely in the promise of equality, liberty, and justice for all. This week marks the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, and we celebrate the women who fought for that right. Yet so many of the Black women who helped secure that victory were still prohibited from voting long after its ratification. But they were undeterred. Without fanfare or recognition, they organized and testified and rallied and marched and fought, not just for their vote, but for a seat at the table. These women and the generations that followed worked to make democracy and opportunity real in the lives of all of us who followed. They paved the way for the trailblazing leadership of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And these women inspired us to pick up the torch and fight on. Women like Mary Church Terrell, Mary Cloyd Bethune, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Diane Nash, Constance Baker Motley, and the great Shirley Chisholm. We're not often taught their stories, but as Americans, we all stand on their shoulders. And there's another woman whose name isn't known, whose story isn't shared, another woman whose shoulders I stand on. And that's my mother, Shyamala Gopalan Harris. She came here from India at age 19 to pursue her dream of curing cancer. At the University of California, Berkeley, she met my father, Donald Harris, who had come from Jamaica to study economics. They fell in love in that most American way while marching together for justice in the civil rights movement of the 1960s. In the streets of Oakland and Berkeley, I got a stroller's eye view of people getting into what the great John Lewis called good trouble. When I was 5, my parents split, and my mother raised us mostly on her own. Like so many mothers, she worked around the clock to make it work, packing lunches before we woke up and paying bills after we went to bed, helping us with homework at the kitchen table and shuttling us to church for choir practice. She made it look easy, though it never was. My mother instilled in my sister Maya and me the values that would chart the course of our lives. She raised us to be proud, strong Black women, and she raised us to know and be proud of our Indian heritage. She taught us to put family first, the family you're born into and the family you choose. Family is my husband, Doug, who I met on a blind date set up by my best friend. Family is our beautiful children, Cole and Ella, who call me Mamala. Family is my sister. Family is my best friend, my nieces, and my godchildren. Family is my uncles, my aunts, and my chitties. Family is Mrs. Shelton, my second mother who lived 2 doors down and helped raise me Family is my beloved Alpha Kappa Alpha, our Divine Nine, and my HBCU brothers and sisters. Family is the friends I turn to when my mother, the most important person in my life, passed away from cancer. And even as she taught us to keep our family at the center of our world, she also pushed us to see a world beyond ourselves. She taught us to be conscious and compassionate about the struggles of all people, to believe public service is a noble cause and the fight for justice is a shared responsibility. That led me to become a lawyer, a district attorney, attorney general, and a United States senator. And at every step of the way, I've been guided by the words I spoke from the first time I stood in a courtroom. Kamala Harris, for the people. I have fought for children and survivors of sexual assault. I fought against transnational criminal organizations. I took on the biggest banks and helped take down one of the biggest for-profit colleges. I know a predator when I see one. My mother taught me that service
Fought against transnational companies and fought against trans healthcare in California prisons.
And oh, how I wish she were here tonight, but I know she's looking down on me from above. I keep thinking about that 25-year-old Indian woman, all of 5 feet tall, who gave birth to me at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. On that day, she probably could have never imagined that I would be standing before you now and speaking these words. I accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States of America. I do so committed to the values she taught me, to the word that teaches me to walk by faith and not by sight, and to a vision passed on through generations of Americans, one that Joe Biden shares, a vision of our nation as a beloved community where all are welcome, no matter what we look like, no matter where we come from or who we love. A country where we may not agree on every detail, but we are united by the fundamental belief that every human being is of infinite worth, deserving of compassion, dignity, and respect. A country where we look out for one another, where we rise and fall as one, where we face our challenges and celebrate our triumphs together. Today, that country feels distant. Donald Trump's failure of leadership has cost lives and livelihoods. If you're a parent struggling with your child's remote learning, or you're a teacher struggling on the other side of that screen, you know what we're doing right now is not working. And we are a nation that is grieving the loss of life, the loss of jobs, the loss of opportunities, the loss of normalcy, and yes, the loss of certainty. And while this virus touches us all, we gotta be honest, it is not an equal opportunity offender. Black, Latino, and Indigenous people are suffering and dying disproportionately. And this is not a coincidence. It is the effect of structural racism, of inequities in education and technology, healthcare and housing, job security and transportation, the injustice in reproductive and maternal health care, in the excessive use of force by police, and in our broader criminal justice system. This virus It has no eyes, and yet it knows exactly how we see each other and how we treat each other. And let's be clear, there is no vaccine for racism. We've got to do the work. For George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for the lives of too many others to name, for our children, and for all of us. We've got to do the work to fulfill that promise of equal justice under law. Because here's the thing, none of us are free until all of us are free. So we're at an inflection point. The constant chaos leaves us adrift. The incompetence makes us feel afraid. The callousness makes us feel alone. It's a lot. And here's the thing, we can do better and deserve so much more. We must elect a president who will bring something different, something better, and do the important work. A president who will bring all of us together, Black, white, Latino, Asian, Indigenous, to achieve the future we collectively want. We must elect Joe Biden. And I will tell you, I knew Joe as vice president. I knew Joe on the campaign trail. And I first got to know Joe as the father of my friend. So Joe's son, Bo, and I served as attorneys general of our states, Delaware and California. During the Great Recession, he and I spoke on the phone nearly every day, working together to win back billions of dollars for homeowners from the big banks that foreclosed on people's homes. And Bo and I, we would talk about his family, how as a single father,
Katie, I'm gonna have to get going.
4 hours every day, riding
Thanks
the
for having
train
me.
back and forth.
Yes, thank
from
you for
See you guys
coming
later.
on.
to
Yeah,
Washington.
see you guys later.
Bo and Hunter got to have breakfast every morning with their dad. They went to sleep every night with the sound of his voice reading bedtime stories. And while they endured an unspeakable loss, those two little boys always knew that they were deeply, unconditionally loved. And what also moved me about Joe is the work that he did as he was going back and forth. This is the leader who wrote the Violence Against Women Act and enacted the assault weapons ban, who as vice president implemented the Recovery Act, which brought our country back from the Great Recessions. He championed the Affordable Care Act, protecting millions of Americans with pre-existing conditions, who spent decades promoting American values and interests around the world. Joe, he believes we stand with our allies and stand up to our adversaries. Right now, we have a president who turns our tragedies into political weapons. Joe will be a president who turns our challenges into purpose. Joe will bring us together to build an economy that doesn't leave anyone behind, where a good paying job is the floor, not the ceiling. Joe will bring us together to end this pandemic and make sure that we are prepared for the next one. Joe will bring us together to squarely face and dismantle racial injustice, furthering the work of generations. Joe and I believe that we can build that beloved community, one that is strong and decent, just and kind, one in which we can all see ourselves. That's the vision that our parents and grandparents fought for, the vision that made my own life possible, the vision that makes the American promise, for all its complexities and imperfections, a promise worth fighting for. So make no mistake, the road ahead is not easy. We may stumble, we may fall short, but I pledge to you that we will act boldly and deal with our challenges honestly. We will speak truths, and we will act with the same faith in you that we ask you to place in us. We believe that our country, all of us, will stand together for a better future. And we already are. We see it in the doctors, the nurses, the home health care workers, and frontline workers who are risking their lives to save people they've never met. We see it in the teachers and truck drivers, the factory workers and farmers, the postal workers and poll workers, all putting their own safety on the line to help us get through this pandemic. And we see it in so many of you who are working, not just to get us through our current crisis, but to somewhere better. There's something happening all across our country. It's not about Joe or me. It's about you. And it's about us. People of all ages and colors and creeds who are, yes, taken to the streets, and also persuading our family members, rallying our friends, organizing our neighbors, and getting out the vote. And we have shown that when we vote, we expand access to health care and expand access to the ballot box and ensure that more working families can make a decent living. And I'm so inspired by a new generation. You are pushing us to realize the ideals of our nation, pushing us to live the values we share: decency and fairness, justice and love. You are patriots who remind us that to love our country is to fight for the ideals of our country. In this election, we have a chance to change the course of history. We're all in this fight. You, me, and Joe, together. What an awesome responsibility. What an awesome privilege. So let's fight with conviction. Let's fight with hope. Let's fight with confidence in ourselves and a commitment to each other, to the America we know is possible, the America we love. In years from now, this moment will have passed, and our children and our grandchildren will look in our eyes, and they're going to ask us, where were you when the stakes were so high? They will ask us, what was it like? And we will tell them. We will tell them not just how we felt, we will tell them what we did. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
Yeah.
Y'all fired up?
Oh my God.
A little
Yeah.
bit,
So excited.
so much better. if they had it panned out to show the empty room and the weird Zoom clapping.
Well, there are people there.
Yeah,
You
but there are
saw,
like
right?
three. Yeah, there are like
Yeah.
a few people there, but it looks super weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got that NBA fan cam going.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Sounds like
typical, you said?
The typical. So does he do this? Did he do this yesterday and Monday?
I don't think
Just
he
come
came
out
out
at the end
physically
and
to an
wave?
audience, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is just typical Democratic, vapid, empty rhetoric. I don't know. Did you guys hear a single policy in there that they're going to use to fight the pandemic or racism or police
I heard there was
brutality?
no vaccine for racism. But I didn't
Right.
hear
There
what
is no vaccine for racism. The biggest, I think that to sum up the DNC, it's like structural problems, symbolic solutions. Like they keep talking about systemic racism, structural racism, and then there's nothing about any systematic, substantive, approaches. It's, yeah. And what kills me, the biggest thing that kills me is that saying that COVID disproportionately harms people of color, which it does, and then not embracing Medicare for all.
Well, it's Medicare for all, and it's all the other things that contributed to people, having to be essential workers and having more encounters with the virus. It's people who are forced to, use public transit. It's a whole ecosystem of the way that capitalism has interacted with racism, but no plans to address that. Love and hope and thinking that America is great and that we're patriots is not going to fix that. And unfortunately, we're talking about two people on this ticket who throughout their careers, they haven't done anything systemic. The things that she mentioned for the most part have been social policies. And we're all familiar with Kamala's work and or lack thereof in not prosecuting one West Bank, Stephen Mnuchin's bank, during that foreclosure crisis that she mentions. And now he's a Treasury Secretary. So Democrats take, one step forward with the rhetoric. Okay, great. We can acknowledge the existence of systemic issues, and then 2 steps back because they don't do anything. And then there's Republican backlash, or they maintain power that makes things even worse. So it's hard to, really value the rhetoric alone.
Right.
Yeah, I also thought it was interesting that even now, like that she's back, like 2018, Kamala's main selling point was what a tough prosecutor she'd been. And like even now she can't totally let go of that. There was that thing about representing the people, Kamala Harris. Like that she was still leaning on the prosecutor thing a little bit. Like she like she doesn't talk about it the way that she used to, but like she can't stop, bragging about having had that role.
Even, yeah. You mean even now that it's not as
even
politically...
now that exactly, it's not politically advantageous the way it used to be. Yeah.
I guess the reason I emphasize the Medicare for all stuff is just because it's such an accessible idea. It's so it's like they just keep, like, obviously all the things that you're saying, like, are totally true about how they're, all these intersections that you mentioned. It's just Medicare for all is like a very concrete thing on the table. I mean, legalizing marijuana, obviously, too, for anyone who cares about criminal justice stuff, right, is another issue. But like, it just so you're just hammering home again and again how disproportionately affected certain, how racialized COVID is. Like saying that again and again, and then not actually embracing one policy that really aggressively attacks that or could mitigate it is just so craven to me. It's like, yeah, we're going to diagnose the problem and then not actually do the thing that could help it.
Right. Neither of them are committed to it. And as we all know, probably everyone who's watching this, Joe Biden said that he would veto it.
Right.
Just, a few months ago when all of this emerged. So yeah, I don't know if they really anticipate bringing in more people than Joe Biden would have, or any Democratic nominee would have brought in, or any establishment Democrat would have brought in, by themselves. So I don't know how much any of this really matters. Like, they're talking to, I think they're speaking to the choir, along with some conservatives that have now been added to the choir, some defecting Republicans. But this message, they're in Milwaukee. Is this message really reaching the people who are suffering disproportionately from COVID? There's a higher racial disparity for COVID in Wisconsin than any other state. They are experiencing top 3 income inequality in the country. Black people in Wisconsin, they're experiencing the highest Black male incarceration rate in Wisconsin for Black men. Black people are also experiencing the highest unemployment rate for working age Black men. So if we're not talking about, if you go down from my reporting, go into the Midwest, and you ask them what kind of minimum wage they want, they're not talking about $15 minimum wage. We say we need $20, $25 is actually a living wage. So they're not talking concrete specifics for these people who have to be the postal workers, they have to be the nurses, and they have to be all these public facing entities, and we're not addressing their specific needs. They're not going to come out and they're not going to be excited, period. And to be in a state, which is really like the center point, along with Minnesota, arguably, but Wisconsin is the center point for those disparities that she's talking about related to COVID. And they aren't explicit about that, and they're not explicit about what they're going to do for those people. So, it's, who cares? Who cares besides the people who already are planning on going to brunch on November 4th? They're going to be making their brunch plans once, the country opens up in January. That's not who, they need to be talking to. Are they phone banking in those communities? Are they building power in those communities? I don't see it.
Yeah. It's so, it's hard. I'm trying not to, I don't know. I guess, are you still doing a lot of organizing on the ground?
Yeah, in New York City.
Yeah. How's that? Is that giving you the hope that national politics doesn't?
Yeah. So for people who may not know, I work with a social justice organization. I'm an organizer for Operation Power, people organizing and working for empowerment and respect. And our focus is local politics. So we know that the system was never designed for us. It was never designed for the working class. We talk about democracy in this country, and it was always designed for propertied men. And it continues to function in the same way. Property rich white men, to be specific. So for us, local organizing means finding ways to have power on the ground and having state power where we are. So city and state politics, because we can affect that more directly if you're a numerical minority. And so we're actually having a teach-in this weekend where the topic is, whether there's this big battle about Democrats and Republicans, and we live in a capitalist system. So you're always going to have these cycles where someone's going to do great, someone's going to do not so great, because it's not up to Obama or Bush or Trump. It's up to the capitalists who run this country, and they can either bring it to a screeching halt based on their own misdeeds, or it will be thriving for them in the stock market and their GDP. But it's never benefited the masses of American people. And so we're going to be talking about the fact that we need to be focused on the system of capitalism, the system of militarism, and all of the rest is a distraction. Thinking about Trump and Biden and all that, and Kamala, and having that debate about how effective she's going to be, it doesn't matter. Capitalism is not going to end because Kamala and Joe Biden are in power. the coronavirus is not going to give, dividends to all these investors because Joe Biden and Kamala are in power. So we need to raise our class consciousness. So my focus is on raising the class consciousness of Black people and ending capitalism.
And what do you have to say about the Angela Davis response to this election, which is that she stayed out of the primary, voting for, I always say that subconsciously, voting for Biden is voting for more space for anti-racism?
I think that's, it's a possibility through certain positions and appointments that they would be able to think more about defining the problem and articulating, the issues with racist capitalism, maybe. But if there is nobody committed to doing anything about the solutions, if we're not talking about baby bonds and again, like increasing the minimum wage or having a Green New Deal that can actually hire people, it doesn't matter. Fundamentally, it doesn't matter. And so if you look at just stats from 1968, I'm going to read off some of them right here, just thinking again about these systemic issues. In 1968, they're talking about the civil rights movement and the vision that they had. Well, how much progress did we have since we had the right to vote? Black homeownership in 1968 was at 41.1%. In 2018, it was 41.2%. Black incarceration was 604 people per 100,000 people. In 2018, it was almost 3 times as much, 1,730 people. So 604 to 1730. From 1968, it increased 3 times in 2018. The Black unemployment rate was 6.7% in 1968. In 2018, it was 7.5%. And with COVID, it's going to be remarkably more than that. So if we're not really getting at the nitty gritty of why this shit isn't working because we have capitalism, then we're going to be in the same place.
Malaika, I didn't get a chance to introduce you because we were kind of mid-watching, but Malaika, I did say she was a journalist, and as you can tell, a nerd superb, and also has done amazing work on Black voters in the Midwest and on kind of the conflation of the terms working class and white working class. So make sure that you check out her piece on that, which is called "The Color of Economic Anxiety," and also her movie "Left Behind." Left Out. I always say, I'm sorry, Left Out. Left Behind is like the Christian, like fundamentalist evangelical thing. Sorry, Left Out. Left Out. Not to be confused with Left Behind, which is the Kirk Cameron vehicle. Left Out. Sorry about that.
Kirk Cameron has some. I forgot.
Oh yeah, it's like the left. It's like these, this like Christian evangelical. What's the thing? What's going to happen? It's called the rapture. Yeah.
Okay. So he hasn't had any reason to be in the public eye since the rapture didn't happen. Huh?
I guess it's kind of it's an engaging film. I watched part of it. But so okay, yeah. It's what's sad is that I don't know how old you guys are, but I remember being I wasn't like ever that excited about Obama, but I definitely liked him more than Hillary. And I thought I knew that people were expecting too much, but I thought he would do some good stuff, and then not so much. But I did cry both times. I was really surprised. Both times. I was like really surprised I cried the second time that he accepted it.
So don't tell anybody. Y'all on YouTube, don't tell anyone, but I campaigned for him. Like we had young Democrats of, Columbia Law School. Like we took a trip to Ohio to make sure that he won. Like that was a big swing state.
Right.
So we were there for like maybe 3 days. And so it was like huge that like he actually won, but I never submitted my absentee ballot. So all the work that we did on the ground, I never actually ended up voting, but I just needed the people to vote. And I was super excited in 2008. I cried.
Yeah.
Not shedding a tear now, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So you guys, where are you guys in this conversation in terms of like the vote and, I mean, the big, there's this whole discourse of non-voters or people who are not vowing to vote for Biden are are privileged. I see that going around a lot.
I think that's silly. I mean, I think if you look especially at the statistics on non-voters, like that's really kind of the opposite of the truth. But you know, so, and I also just don't think it's that useful anyway to like try to like badger people into not thinking something by talking about how privileged they are. But I do think that it's worth you know, I will, you know, so I live in a state that could go either way, right? I will vote for Biden and go home and throw up, you know, but I mean, I think that the best case for it is that it's a defensive thing, you know, that like that if you know, that even though they're obviously both representatives of the ruling class and they're both going to continue, you know, capitalism like Malaika was talking about, I think they represent different ruling class strategies. And I think that Trump is going to do things like continue to appoint people to the National Labor Relations Board who want to wipe out what's left of organized labor in the United States. Whereas, you know, Biden represents a ruling class strategy where, you know, certainly try to weaken them, you know, unions in different ways, but isn't going to just try to crush what's left of collective bargaining in quite the same way. So I wish she hadn't sat out the primary, but I guess I do agree with Angela Davis.
Malaika, you want to have the last word?
This is the last word, or just
no? I mean, yeah, well, people have been. Ben may be wanting to. Ben may be tired because we've been at this for a while.
You guys are hanging out.
Yeah, I do have to jet in a minute, but yeah, no, I would like to hear more perspective.
Yeah. To me, it's a matter of getting shot in the head or getting a lethal or getting poisoned, you know, daily. So yes, one is violent and dramatic. At the same time, we are dying slowly either way. And at least with one, you see a gun in somebody's hand and you know it's coming, you know, we're not getting shot in the back of the head. Like we see it very clearly. And so maybe people will try and fight if they know it's coming. We hear all this stuff about holding these politicians accountable and making sure that we can push them left. Unfortunately, when we do have liberals in charge, there's always the concern about, well, the next election cycle, so midterms, and then it's going to be, well, they got to maintain power, so you can't go too far left, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. So, you know, I really don't know if we necessarily have the answer. I'm not going to, I decided not to tell people how to vote. I'm not publicly endorsing anything or anybody. I think you can make a case either way.
Yeah.
But I also do want to caution people to just look at history and look at how we have actually behaved under liberal presidencies and Democratic control. And for the most part, we don't take it to the streets. We're not rallying. We're not pushing back. We're not fighting. And I don't think Donald Trump is doing anything that Republicans have not been trying to do for the last, 50, 60 years. He makes people uncomfortable because he's honest about it and he's open
takes the mask off. Yeah.
And so now people kind of have some ammunition to actually fight back. But when someone's poisoning your food, you can't taste it, you can't tell, and you're dying a slow death. Which one do we prefer?
Yeah. But you know, it's interesting because with that metaphor, I actually feel like a lot of this explains, I think, why a lot of people are voting for Biden or Will, because it's like, to use your metaphor, if they're not sure that they're dying, right? It's like, oh, maybe something feels kind of weird. I have some indigestion. But it gives them like more time to live just like not very comfortable, right? They're not very comfortably. They have some like antacid. Like I just feel like that actually, I totally hear what you're saying. And but I also think that in a way is kind of like how it works. That's why it works, because people would, for the most part, choose that over the shot in the head.
Yeah. And you could even really run with the metaphor, right? Like you could say, look, if I'm being slowly poisoned, you know, then maybe, you know, like I keep on being slowly poisoned. That's one of my options. Like maybe that'll give me time to get an antidote, right? You know, so right.
Yeah,
I can be safe. Whereas if I'm shot in the head, I'll just be dead.
Right.
And I mean, I don't think we should like. I think that like all the stuff, like all the people who think that like who take the first part of what I said and said this, so we should like not talk bad about Biden or whatever.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, you can be honest about it, right? Like, like you can be honest about who and what Biden is, and just like kind of take the approach that like, socialists and communists in France took when the runoff election was between Jacques Chirac, who's a conservative who everybody rightly hated, and Jean-Marie Le Pen, who was a neo-fascist, and like people were doing things like going to the polls with like clothespins on their noses, and like you can, like you don't have to pretend, like even if you do agree with what I'm saying, like you don't have to pretend that Biden isn't terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what bothers me with this moment is instead of people saying, yeah, I know I'm being slowly poisoned, but I'm going ahead with it anyway. People are like, they're the most progressive ticket ever. So that's my concern.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yes. That's almost like yes.
Like they don't know that they're being poisoned. They're saying, just the opposite. This is like, this is 3 square meals.
Yeah, I think that's true, right? Because then they also lose all their cred. And it also changes. We're losing. If you say that you lose cred, and you're also changing what the definition, right? To the extent that anyone has any power, like you're using your voice to actually change what it means to be progressive. Like why are you doing that? Just what Kamala could have just said, problems exist. I'm not going to try and solve anything. I'm not that girl. Good night.
Right. Look, we're trying to get Trump out. Y'all know where we at. Let's go.
Right.
But this is, structural. Like, don't fool me. Don't waste our time. Don't have us sitting here at 11:30 still talking about y'all when you could have just said what you said, Katie.
Yeah.
Trump, y'all already said that we could be a piece of shit. Y'all will vote for a piece of shit. You will walk barefoot in glass. You will vote for Hitler to get Trump out. So yeah,
right.
We might do that.
Right.
We did it. We know you just don't want Trump. So come with the blue team. Good night, y'all. The convention could have been 1 hour on Monday. We could have been free.
1 hour what? Sorry, I didn't
1
hear
hour
you.
on Monday.
We're just saying what? We're better than Trump?
Yeah, vote for...
Not as bad as Trump?
Right.
Vote for the shit sandwich?
Yeah.
Vote for the ham sandwich?
Shit, yeah. So...
Yeah, that was bad. Trump wouldn't be his job is Build Back Better.
You're right. Yeah. Get rid of Trump. Better than Build Back Better. I totally agree, yeah. Well, I mean, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate your time. Malaika, if you want to chat more, we can. But Ben, definitely thank you so much. Want to send you off to sleep or to, thank you again. And make sure you check out Ben's.
Walk the dog and, all that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Great. You have to send us a dog photo.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Katie.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Night, y'all.
Bye.
Night,
you
everybody.
guys were both on Michael's show a bunch, by the way.
Oh, word.
Yeah. I should have
We
said that
still
when you're still
filming?
on. Sorry?
We still filming. People can see us.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, but we can take a night now.
No, it's cool. Say rest in peace, Michael. He would have been great to be talking to right now.
Yeah, I know.
Rest in
Yeah.
power.
Yeah. It's so weird.
So you've been slogging away at all of these, huh?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Tonight, last night, where are we? Tomorrow. So let's see. Yeah, this is the third night, and then the fourth night will be tomorrow. Yeah, it's been between Colin Powell and John Kasich and the Whitmans, Meg and Christine Todd.
Yeah, isn't Cindy McCain supposed to be speaking?
Oh, I think she's coming soon. Yeah.
So it will be tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's Sidney McCain and I guess
and Biden.
Joe. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who the other big players are. Maybe they'll throw another Bush. Like maybe there'll be a George W.
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher.
I know. I was thinking if they could bring Margaret Thatcher back from the dead, or John Birch.
Yeah,
some of those gems.
Mm-hmm. Get all them liberals over here.
Pinochet. While you're at it,
I can't wait.
It's so bad. Yeah, it's really terrible. I kind of like Brianna Joy Gray's position on this, which is, and I know that this is just like one aspect, but just because we're talking about the DNC, I'm talking about the, the election, and I know it's just one aspect, but like, I liked her piece in defense of litmus tests, and basically she's like, I would like to happily vote for Biden. I would like to happily, pull the lever. I was gonna say pull the trigger, Freudian slip, but pull the lever for him. I'm just asking for very basic things that make him more electable. I don't know.
I'm interested to see if they actually have any real commitments. I, have anticipated that they won't, just given the tent that they're trying to expand to. And I think this is kind of a moment that we're going to kind of look back on history and say that this could potentially be a political realignment. You have so many people who are so far right wing right now in the Republican Party. Like, is this going to be the thing that pushes for like an actual real progressive third party? I have no idea. I'm not sure what, the future will hold. But this need, we're talking about democracy. How do you have democracy with these two parties, with these two corporate-backed parties? Joe Biden is outrunning Trump right now in the number of billionaires backing him.
Right.
Kamala Harris suspended her campaign. She had more billionaires backing her than any other Democratic nominee, any other Democratic candidate, excuse me. So how can we break free of that? We cannot call this any kind of democracy or return to democracy if we do not get around that underlying problem.
And what about this is just symbolic, but like even Trump considering, pardoning, which of course he should, pardoning Snowden, and then Susan Rice saying, I just can't. This is what the GOP has become. It's like, what? What? Like that? Anyway, yeah, it's, I know. I was talking about this with my friend, and I was like, there's no hope. Like I've never been that third party-ish, because I'm like, look, we live in the two-party system. I like the idea of it, but like for right now, what can we do? And I was just like, maybe we just do need to threaten it. Maybe there needs to be a big Dem exit, and that'll cause some pain, but like we have no leverage, none. And then my friend was like, well, what we really need is a powerful labor movement, which I think is true. But I'm just like, that's like a bigger goal in many ways. It's a more admirable and like noble thing to do, and it is the priority, but also like, maybe what is this? There's like, what's the stopgap? Like, we should be doing that, but that is going to take a while. And maybe
I don't know if there's anything you can really do as a stopgap. I think Bernie Sanders was the stopgap because there was just so many powerful interests in stopping him. We couldn't even have the stopgap.
I know.
The stopgap was stopped.
Yeah.
So what's the next move?
Right.
So I think that's where my focus just goes again to local politics, because you have to, it's a long-term strategy. I think it's, it's going to be rough for a while. But the long-term strategy is people raise their class consciousness, and you kind of weaken like the Democratic Party infrastructure at a local level where they do have more challengers. And so in East New York, where Operation Power is based, the Democratic establishment doesn't hold the city council seat, it doesn't hold the assembly seat, it doesn't hold the community board. We took that down, so we're thinking of models like that for other major cities. And I think that's going to have to happen on a local level.
Right. It's true. Yeah, it's true. We don't talk about that enough with ICE and how all these things can be very local, and ICE is not local, but how all these things that can be done because of that, all these things that can be done at local levels, since Trump can only be challenged so much, mostly through the courts. Dick Cheney and Kissinger are speaking tomorrow. No, I would love that. Fully take off the mask.
Steve Bannon.
Yeah, I know. Well, we were talking about him earlier. He's the thing is, we were talking about it with Thomas Frank. Have you ever been on a show with Thomas Frank, or you guys should be on the show together? It'd be really interesting. I'm going to have both of you on together. Because, he wrote What's the Matter with Kansas and Listen Liberal.
I know. I'm familiar with him.
Yeah. So you guys would have a really interesting. I mean, you Malaika is Atlantan, but again, spent a lot of time working doing research on the Midwest. So it'd be like a fascinating conversation. But why did I just bring that up? What were you just saying?
Steve Bannon.
Oh yeah, he was saying how Steve Bannon had never run a campaign before, and all the experts that ran Hillary's campaign, obviously she didn't win, but he like, you know, he's a very sordid guy, but he's very smart and he gets certain things. He gets like the scary stuff that makes people tick. Wait, come here, I got to show you guys something. Look at this little girl.
Aw, she's like, why you interrupted my playtime?
I know, she's so cute. Bodhi, say hi to Malaika. You met her before.
I know.
She's a little bat in her mouth. I know, right?
Hey, Bodhi.
Bodhi, say hi. Bodhi, say hi.
Said hi back.
I know. She's so cute. Oh my God. Anyway, well, thank you. This was great. I'll be here again tomorrow night. Once more. Maybe thank you. And Malaika, where can people find your work?
You can go to bit.ly / left out 2020. So bit.ly / left out 2020. I'm a columnist for The Guardian. So that's where a lot of my writing is. And of course on Twitter.
Where you're just, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And and come back. You're one of my faves. You're the Midwestern stringer for the Katie Halper Show.
The Midwestern stringer.
I'm just pretending that's as if I have, you know, people all over the country. Oh yeah, let me check with my Midwest office. Malaika Jabali on the ground.
The Midwest.
Exactly, yeah.
No one says that. Checking in from Milwaukee.
I know.
It's Milwaukee, right? Wisconsin.
And from the Northeast, or the Southeast, yeah.
Yeah, I got a little Southeast beat too.
Oh yeah, you do, right.
Speaking of, I'm not really like saying it, but I'm doing a policing column, which I will announce like officially. Is actually my first story is gonna be based in Atlanta. So y'all
where for
I'm not saying it yet.
So it's not The Guardian though?
No.
But I'm somewhere you already write?
No.
So you've never written there before?
Nope.
It's an existing thing. It's not like like your own Medium thing or your own Patreon or Substack.
Right. It's an existing outlet.
Ooh.
But I signed a contract to have my own monthly column.
Wow.
Watching the police.
So we know it's not Current Affairs. It's not Essence. It's not The Guardian. It's not The Intercept.
Right.
Yeah. All right. And it's not yeah. Oh my God. Bodhi, calm down. Malaika also won an award.
For the current affairs story. So
yes.
The color of economic anxiety. It's talking about what we're talking about now, voter enthusiasm and the lack thereof.
Yeah, it's so good.
The Democrats need it most.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, so everyone check out Malaika. Thank you, Malaika, so much. And we will see you tomorrow. We'll be here at probably around, I'll be here like 8:45, maybe with some drinking games.
Mm-hmm.
And when does your column start?
Next month.
Okay, exciting. You'll have to break the news on the show. You'll have to tell us. The exclusive.
Got you. I got you. Yeah,
okay.
I can talk about I'll talk about the story. Next time.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be done by then.
All right. Great.
Hey.
Bye.
Good night, Katie.
Good night, everyone. Good night, guys. Bodhi, say good night. Bodhi, say I love you. Say I love you guys. I'm so happy to talk about politics with you guys. I'm really disturbed by how, let's see. Look, oh my God, look at her. I'm just so disturbed by how the Dems are selling out. But we live in a duopoly, and I oppose that, and I will fight and bark against that. But in the meantime, I just really have a harm reduction framework around this for me personally, like in my heart of hearts, right here. That's how I see it. Oh my God, she's so cute. Right, Boo? She's so cute. Oh, she's making little snorty sounds. By the way, I'm really sorry. I want to give a shout out to Melba Pearson and Jen Perelman, both of whom lost their races, but were so good and really deserved to win. And it's a real shame that they didn't. And it's a shame that the media did not follow them. And there's a real problem with the media being a self-fulfilling prophecy and only following the candidates who are winning. It's kind of like with Emily's List, only giving money to candidates who have money. So I'll listen to a growl. Bodie, you got the mic. Bodie. Both. Sing. All right. She's a Lhasa Apso, by the way. All right. So yeah. Oh, tomorrow night I'm going to be playing. Matt Taibbi and I are going to be here, and we're going to be playing his drinking game. Okay. So, I'll put a link in the bottom of this. Okay.